like new Chevy trucks. Shop the savings on all new Chevrolets today at Gateway Chevrolet. Save thousands with 2.9% financing for 60 months on select models. Only at Gateway Chevrolet in Fargo. Find new roads. Details gatewayfargo.com.
KQWB, West Fargo, Fargo-Moorhead, and KPFX, HD3 Kindred, Bison 1660. Powered by Gateway Chevrolet, Cadillac, Nissan, and Hyundai in Fargo.
We are Fox Sports. And here's what you need to know.
Sunday's NBA All-Star Game drew 4.5 million viewers, making it the least watched edition of the game on record, down 29% from last year. Top-ranked men's tennis player Novak Djokovic has asked American authorities for special permission to enter the country in order to play in tournaments next month in California and Florida. Djokovic is not vaccinated against COVID-19, and TSA has said the requirement for foreign travelers to be fully vaccinated would be in place until at least mid-April. In the NFL, reports say former Oregon and Florida State head coach Willie Taggart is expected to be the next running backs coach for the Ravens. And reports say 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy is delaying his impending elbow surgery due to ongoing inflammation. Purdy was scheduled to have the procedure done today, but it will now have to wait until early March. With a 6-month recovery timeline, signs still point to Purdy being ready for the beginning of next season. I'm Nick Cope.
You've got the insiders.
How you play today, from this moment on, is how you will be remembered.
That's what living is. That's right. The 6 inches in front of your face.
Bringing you what you need to know and a whole lot more. Topics you care about, guests you know, and the conversations you came to hear. The Insiders are presented by Proceed. Need seed? Think Proceed.
This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
Now, here are the Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders.
Insiders.
Rob Hipp and Andy Rickoff.
The Sports Buffet on a Wednesday is wide open. It's going to be a good 2 hours here. Thanks for joining us on Bison 1660 for the Insiders. Rob Hipp here alongside Bison great Kyle Emanuel back in studio with us for the next few days. Micah Bendy running the board. And again, welcome on in here as we get rolling on, what day is it? Hump Day! Hump Day! What day is it, Kyle?
I think it's Wednesday.
He didn't get in on it. Got a lot cooking today. Again, thanks for joining us here. Going to have a lot of fun here on 1660, 92.7 on the Bison app. Wherever you're at across the digital landscape, get on your phones and download that. If you're driving, don't download it. But if you get a chance, download the app. Make sure you tune in. You can keep up with all things NDSU, all things throughout the sports world, not just programming here on the Insiders, but all the great offerings right here on Bison 1660. So I said earlier, I've said it, 3 times now. Going to be a fun one today. Got a lot cooking. Kyle Emanuel's here with us. We'll have a little NFL franchise tag discussion. A little tag there for
franchise tag.
Some tag discussion.
Is that right? Did we say it right, Mike?
Franchise tag.
Franchise tag. We'll play some bags and then franchise tag coming up. But going to be a lot of fun talking about that. Q Myers, a gentleman that I know from Central Texas, now over there in Las Vegas with the Raiders. He'll be chiming in, giving us some updates on what's going on with Derek Carr, what's going on with the Raiders, and what does that look like. Maybe some NFL discussion on some franchise tags there for the Raiders as well. Just to kind of keep you up to date. I know it's not a huge deal. A lot of folks, of course, want to keep up with the Vikings, but I think at this time of the year it's good to see what's going on across the landscape of the NFL. So we'll have Q Myers, your boy Q, joining us, and we'll have him on the show. Also, how about this? NDSU Basketball Athletic Communications, Wes Offerman, going to join us, the Associate Athletic Director there with NDSU. Does a great job providing information for men's basketball, also track and field. We'll get some updates from Wes, catch up with him, get to know him a little bit for Bison Nation that may not know him yet. Been around for a while. We'll also, a segment that I'm really looking forward to, we wanted to throw something in today. How about greatest sports movies of all time? We're going to have our list. I've got 6. Kyle, you've got a list that you've put together.
I got 5 and an honorable mention, so I guess, 6.
And then Mike, I know he's thinking as well, so he'll have his.
Right now, I'm at like 3 or 4, floating around there. Might increase it. I'll have to do what Kyle did. Look it up a little bit and be like, okay, this is how I would rank it. But I think I might leave it at a weird number, like 3 or 4.
Gut. You got to just go with your gut, and it's tough because I know a lot of people will disagree with my list, and I respect it because there's so many great classic sports movies, and I hate to admit this, but I haven't seen some of them. usually most of them before my time, before I was born. We talked about like Field of Dreams. I think I've seen it once, maybe, and I don't even know if I watched it all the way through. There's other ones like Bull Durham that I saw come up, and like I know some people love those movies. I've only seen them a handful of times. Rudy, I think I've seen like once or twice. So there are some classics that won't make my list. There's a little teaser, and I understand it, but that's the fun part about this debate is well, what do you like? It's we were talking, Rob, before the show. It's like, for me, there was an era that I won't give away, but when I was kind of growing up, you're an impressionable young kid, you love sports, and like you watch some of these movies and they move you, right? And like, so those are the ones that stick with me. But for someone a different age or interested in something else, might be something completely different. And that's what's fun about these lists.
Yeah, so we're gonna have some fun today. We're gonna talk. We want to interact with you. By the way, here's a little tidbit for you, a little hint. We will be giving away NDSU men's basketball tickets. In the back of your mind as you listen to the show today, start thinking about movies, sports movies. I'm just going to give you that hint because somehow these tickets are going to tie into sports movies as well. So you need to be thinking about that as the show goes on. Just start thinking about what movies do you like? What sports movies can you think of? That's all the information I'm going to give you with that. We'll also talk a little college basketball rankings here in the final week. There's a couple of games remaining on the regular season schedule for college teams all throughout the landscape. So we'll be going over the AP Top 25 poll, maybe discussing what teams are doing well this season that maybe weren't thought would come in and do so well this year. So we'll talk about that. We'll have the rankings coming up as well. We'll also be giving away Sportsman Show tickets March the 2nd through the 5th happening. And then I've got the Garden Show tickets as well. So we're going to pair those up again. It's a good opportunity. 2 weekends in a row. You can kind of go back and forth, go to the Garden Show with one side, and then go to the Sportsman Show the following week. So we'll be talking about that. And then, of course, giving away those Bison basketball tickets. So a lot on store. The phone lines are open. The text line is open. We'd love to hear from you. The Epic Company's hotline at 701-476-1660. You can also email us on the Rick Electric email inbox, studio@bison1660.com. I wanted to get started today with a couple of things, just to kind of kick off the show and have some fun. We always have fun, especially when Kyle's here. It's always just a blast. But I wanted to kick off something today. Mike and I were talking before the show. You kind of leave this first segment always a little open-ended because you never know what you're going to fill it with a lot of times. Even though I prepare and have it all written out, Mike and I have somehow gotten into a discussion about, back in the day, like bartending and bars and fun times. Won't go into full details about a lot of that. But for some reason, we started talking about, some folks that can stay up all night and then get up at 3 in the morning and go to work and still feel great. And there's other folks that, like me back in the day, I'd wake up at 8 a.m. and not feel so great if I stayed up late at night. You know where I'm going with this. Micah Bendy brought up something earlier that I had no idea about, that it was a cure for the hangover. Micah, what was this? I've never heard of this before.
I didn't hear of it until about 6 months ago, and if you have a CPAP machine for when you sleep, like if you're a heavy snorer or if you have trouble sleeping at night, having that good sleep, and then I learned that you can turn you have humidity levels. You can have low levels of humidity, or you can crank it up really, really high. And someone that I have talked to who has a CPAP machine has said, if you don't want to have a rough morning after having a late night, then turn that humidity up on that CPAP machine, and because you're staying hydrated and you're kind of counteracting what you were doing from the night before. You wake up refreshed, you don't feel a thing, and you feel great in the morning.
Okay. I like that. I thought you were going to come at me with some new product and some new drink, because there's a million of those out there. Like I've seen every single kind. It's like, oh, drink this. It's got B vitamins and whatever and this and that. And I'm like, okay, I've tried them. Like, those aren't the ticket. But this is something new. So I've never heard that before. I can't say that I'm going to try it because I don't have one.
Yeah,
but
CPAP
if I
machine
did,
is for a specific reason, for people who struggle with sleeping.
Yeah, sleep apnea and that. So. Well, I do want to say, full disclaimer, Mike is not a doctor. This is not FDA approved. It's just for entertainment purposes only. Yeah. Entertainment. But
anecdotal evidence. It's worked for one person. Maybe it works for you if you have a CPAP machine. Who knows? But it goes to the fact of you want to stay as hydrated as possible throughout the night, and then in the morning, if you have to gargle down a bunch of water in the morning, that can sometimes make you feel better. For me personally, I'm a fan of pickle juice in the morning. Yep. Not a ton of it, just a little bit
sodium,
of it. Yep.
Electrolytes.
It helps a little bit.
I'm a fan of grease in some capacity or another. cheeseburgers,
not the movie.
Bacon.
Not the movie.
No. The movie I guess could help too. Some type of grease and like
grease.
a Gatorade, and like that's my go-to.
It's kind of weird, as you get older, and at least for me, you get older and you get married and you have babies and all that. Like those late nights don't come very often anymore,
Correct.
and they're very far and few in between. Kyle, you and I don't have that young blood like one Micah Bendy back there running the dials. Basically, he's the guy that's in control of the show, so he can shut me off whenever he wants. But things change, but it is some good advice. So if you got a buddy that that has a sleep apnea machine or a CPAP machine,
Even if you have a humidifier, crank that thing up all the way to high on a humidifier and have it right next to you. That could probably help too.
All right, well there you go. That's your fun fact of the day to get started here on Wednesday Hump Day for those of you that enjoy long nights and need to get up early in the morning. Something else came across the news wire. We're going to get into sports discussion, but want to start this out again, having fun this morning. There was a man, and this came across a couple of weeks ago, and it actually flew through my inbox this morning. There was a man who spent 24 days adrift in the Caribbean Sea and says that he survived by eating no more than ketchup. So I wanted to bring up this discussion this morning. This was Elvis Francois, 47 years old. He was found 120 nautical miles northwest of Colombia's Puerto Bolivar after a plane saw the word help engraved on the hull of his sailboat. The Colombian Navy said in a statement, this was a few Thursdays ago, he said, "I had no food, quote, it was just a bottle of ketchup that was on the boat, garlic powder, and some stock cubes, so I mixed it up with some water. Sounds disgusting, but hey, it's something to eat." Francois from the island of the nation of Dominica said he had been making repairs on his boat near the Dutch port of the island of St. Martin in December when adverse weather conditions pulled out the boat to sea. Now, there was some discussion about this that I believe it was Hunt's ketchup, and they may be offering to fix his boat for him. So this leads into the discussion. If you're out in the middle of the ocean and you had only one food that you could eat for 24 days to survive, what would it be? And you got to think this through, because let's say that you like burgers. You don't want to eat burgers 24 days in a row. So you got to.
I don't know. I might.
But you got to think this through, though, because what would that do to your body over 24 days?
True.
So Kyle Emanuel, if you're out there at sea, only had one food to eat, what would it be?
So we're talking like, so you're not talking like just like my favorite food in general. You're talking like what would I want to like basically survive
every day if you had to eat it for 24 days straight to survive.
Well, here's the thing. Your body doesn't need food for 24 days. If you need water, you could survive for 24 days with limited food, I believe. Again, I'm not a doctor. Don't take this as medical advice. Don't try this. But you could survive for 24 days with limited food, I believe, as long as you have water. Micah, I'm
in agreement with you, and I can do a quick search, and then we can figure it out later in the show. But I believe you obviously need water before you actually need food.
Correct. So, I could eat burgers. I could just have like one a day or one every other day, and I'd still survive. It would be miserable, but the people that know me, if they're listening to the show, they're like, well, we know what Kyle's going to say. He's going to say Pop-Tarts. So when I was younger, I still enjoy them. I don't eat them hardly ever anymore, but when I was younger, that was my go-to. I had that for breakfast like every morning in high school. And so, that's kind of where my mind leads me to. I would probably pick Pop-Tarts.
The important question is raw Pop-Tart or heated
Both
up
are good.
Pop-Tart?
Both are good.
I don't discriminate over here, man. Any kind of Pop-Tart's good with me.
Like, did you have to put it in the toaster in the morning?
No. I did sometimes just to mix it up. I've had frozen Pop-Tarts.
Frozen?
Toasted, microwaved, raw, whatever. It's all good.
I love the idea of raw Pop-Tart. Like, we talk about raw meat. I like a raw Pop-Tart.
What would you, Michael, what would your food of choice be?
Well, I'm looking for some energy out there because you need your mind to be right. You don't want your mind to go because then you're kind of done. So I'm going to take any version of pasta. You can give me anything out of it. Give me some carbs. Give me that energy so then I can work throughout the day and figure out what I need to do to get home safe.
All right. Mine would be Sloppy Joes because Bridget has been making a mean Sloppy Joe lately. The other day she made we've eaten them like twice now in the last 2 weeks. You would think it's simple. Oh man, she can cook, and I've been vocal about it on this show. Bridget can cook. Love you, sweetheart. I came home. I had 2 of them. They were so good. I had 2 more of them.
Nice.
Woke up at like 3 in the morning with really bad heartburn, but man, it was worth it.
Yeah.
So throw the Sloppy Joes my way. We want to hear from you. What would you eat 24 days in a row if you were stranded out in the ocean? Let us know.
If I could change my answer, and I know this is cheating because it's more than one thing, but I would pick like a breakfast carb, so either like pancakes, waffles, French toast, and then like sausage or bacon. So I got my carbs, I got a little bit of protein. I love those foods anyway, so that would be my other.
You can only pick one. You
I
can't
know.
have like
technically you can't
But
have all of that.
I need some protein too. So maybe so can I do pancakes with peanut butter on them?
no.
That's cheating too.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
well.
you just can only. I mean, this guy,
I like too much food.
This
man.
guy-
He had ketchup though. He had multiple
Yeah, he had
things.
ketchup
so
and garlic
Kyle,
powder, man.
Kyle should be able to have like pancakes and then
Peanut
like
butter.
throw like powdered sugar on there.
All right, yeah, you can have some powder on there, some sugar.
No, I won't. No.
All right, well, that's
I'm not
enough of
going to
it.
do well. Let's just put it that way.
Well, hopefully we don't ever have to be in that situation. We wanted to get your minds going this morning. Let us know what you would want to eat. What would you survive on? 701-476-1660. A lot more to go here. The Insiders, as always, brought to you by Proceed. Need seed, think Proceed. Online at proceed.net. We'll have this day in sports history, also our poll of the day when we come back. And before we do take a break, I want to go ahead and give away some of these Sportsman tickets and Garden Show tickets. So caller number 4, you're going to get tickets to the 2023 Red River Valley Sportsman Boat Camping and Vacation Show, March the 2nd through the 5th at the Fargo Dome. I'm also going to toss in a pair of the Red River Valley Home and Garden Show tickets, February 24th, 25th, and 26th. 2 tickets apiece. All you got to do, what did I say, caller 4? Caller number 4, 701-476-1660. Again, 701-476-1660. We'll take a break. We'll have more on the Insiders when we come back.
You've got the Insiders on your Bison Nation station, Bison 1660.
I think what makes Proceed win is we're different than the other companies in many ways with our programming, our simplicity, our non-corporate attitudes, and our personal relationship building.
What Proceed is, we bring back the old-fashioned seed buying experience. We're true seedsmen. We care about everything from the sale to the planting to following up afterwards. That's what we're all about, is just trying to bring that experience back to a personal level.
Need seed, think Proceed. Proceed.net, great seed at a reasonable price.
What do concussions, sports injuries, post-COVID long hauler, and chronic pain all have in common? Inflammation. At Healing with Hyperbarics, we are treating your inflammation the natural way with 100% oxygen, no referral needed, same-day appointments, and weekend availability. Now is the time to let us help you heal. Check us out on our website, healingwithhyperbarics.com, or on Facebook. Healing with Hyperbarics is your one-stop shop for total body wellness, conveniently located on 45th Street in Fargo.
Celebrate National Margarita Day with the best margarita lineup in the game. What's your go-to style? House, Peaks, Watermelon, Ilago Mezcal, or On the Rocks? Are you a fan of Twin Peaks? Sign up for the E-Club to stay up to date on all things Twin Peaks and score free stuff. Signing up is easy. Just visit twinpeaksrestaurant.com/peaks-club to get started today. Twin Peaks, eats, drinks, scenic views.
Experience is what builds the future of glass at Cardinal IG in Fargo. Cardinal IG is leading the industry in the development of superior glass for the residential window industry. Their highly motivated and talented employees design and manufacture the best glass in the industry. This February, Cardinal IG would like to say thank you to Michael Johnson, Elisa Henjum, and Elizabeth Victor, who are all celebrating their first year at Cardinal IG. To view open positions or to apply, visit CardinalFargo.com. That's CardinalFargo.com.
Did you know you could be a superstar? My friends at Nutrisource Pet Foods have superstar treats, and 100% of the profits from these treats go towards funding the Nutrisource Superstars program. This program is dedicated to helping families, children, and pets facing hardships. And did I mention your pet will love the soft and tasty training treats? They come in 4 delicious flavors: real chicken, cheddar cheese, bacon, and beef. Each treat is less than 3 calories. Find out more about this amazing program and find a retailer near you at NutrisourcePetFoods.com. And it's booked. Wait, what if my flight gets canceled or the room is terrible? Ugh, what am I doing? Travel always has specials on dream trips. They do corporate travel, honeymoons, everything. I'm booking with Travel just to be safe. This week's Travel hot deal of the week is Sandals South Coast Luxury Over-the-Water Butler Honeymoon Bungalow, an experience you'll never forget, next January 16th to the 23rd for around $25,000 for 2. Call Travel at 492-5000 or online at travelgroup.com.
If you need any professional advice, they may not be your guys.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
But if you need information on NDSU, then they got you covered. It's the Insiders on Bison 1660.
Back at it here on a Wednesday. Thanks for joining us on the Insiders. Kyle Emanuel, Micah Benny, Rob Hipp here in the studio. Andy Rickoff with women's basketball. Boy, keep that area in your prayers, man. It is going to be tough travel. I've heard, we're, of course, in a blizzard warning starting here in the Fargo area at 6 o'clock this evening through 12 o'clock tomorrow. But they're predicting, man, maybe up to 20 inches of snow there in Minnesota and some of those areas.
Yeah, they're getting feet of snow in Minnesota. They're getting smacked with it. But we're safe in the Fargo bubble here. It is a thing. I do believe in this, so it's going to go right around us. It's just going to be a nice circle around the Fargo area.
Don't say that too much because we don't want the bubble to pop right now, Micah, so we don't need to jinx it. But again, we'll be considerate of those that are traveling. Be careful out there and heed those weather warnings and make sure that you're safe, especially during this winter storm that could be coming in, even parts of this area. That is why we are under that blizzard warning starting today from the National Weather Service at 6 o'clock. We're live here from the Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Theraldson Ethanol, one of the nation's largest ethanol facilities, this 175 million gallon per year ethanol plant located just west of Castleton. Fuel your future by joining the growing team. View open positions at theraldsonethanol.com. Had a couple of texts come in earlier. We'll talk more about the movie thing in a little bit, but Dave K., he had a good take on it. Instead of what are your favorite movies or what are the best movies, he said what are the worst sports movies ever first. The first one that pops into my head is a movie from the 80s called Rad. It's a BMX movie. There's a guy named Crew in that movie. And one of the worst lines of the movie is they're looking for sponsors. And this guy suggested Coke, like Coca-Cola. And he turns around to the guy and he goes, Coke? Wow, that's big time. And that is why that movie is one of the worst of all time.
Yeah, I'm trying to come up with that's tough off the top of your head, like trying to come up with one. I don't know.
We'll think
Micah,
about that.
you got any? I feel like...
I guess they're not... I've never, I've probably seen a bad sports movie, but I probably didn't... If I thought it was bad, I probably would have switched the channel or turned it off.
Or so, don't commit it to memory, right? Like
yeah, it didn't stay in my memory, so I can only think of, like average ones or good ones or great ones. But I'm going to do a quick search and be like, oh, yeah, that was a bad movie.
Was terrible. Well, I do want to give some more tips, by the way, because we will be talking about some of the greatest movies of all time, but we do have NDSU men's basketball tickets that we're going to be giving away. I'm going to give you another tip now. Start focusing on basketball movies. I want to give you that tip. Start thinking of basketball movies. Put that in the back of your mind. Wanted to go over a little bit here. We did this yesterday, and it was kind of fun. We'll do it again today. A little this day in sports history. Kyle, the year was 1860. When was the first, what team do you think played in the first organized baseball game? First organized baseball game. It was in 1860.
Professional team?
Yeah.
The Chicago Black Sox.
That's a good answer. San Francisco. It was played in San Francisco for the first time between the Eagles and the Red Rovers.
Eagles and Red Rovers.
I never heard of the Red Rovers. Besides the game when you were a kid.
Come on over.
Yeah, come on over, Red Rover. You'll love this one, Kyle. 1888. The father of American golf. John Reed first demonstrates golf on a Yonkers cow pasture to friends.
Wow.
So there you go, man.
There we go. There's a birthplace of golf, I guess. Well, no, obviously the golf goes beyond that, but that's kind of crazy to think about. In a farm pasture.
But he is known as the father of American golf.
Right.
1893, the first Iron Bowl. Auburn beats Alabama 32-22 in Birmingham. Iron Bowl, a lot of history behind that. Great to see that one. 1933, Malcolm Campbell sets the world land speed record at the time, 272.46 miles per hour, driving his famous Bluebird car at Daytona Beach, Florida. Now, of course, they've came out with the jet engines now and all that kind of stuff, so that speed has been broken. But go back to then, that's pretty fast out there. 1957, Walter O'Malley says the Dodgers may play 10 exhibitions in California in 1958. So it's kind of crazy to go back and think about how the sports world landscape is changing. We mentioned yesterday, I believe one of the you go back and it was in the 60s, the minimum salary was $10,000 for players then.
Yep, $10,000, and then I equated that to what that would be in today's money. That'd be $80,000 that players would have been making, which now that even that's a tiny bit of money for like what Major League Baseball players are making on average.
When you think of Wilt Chamberlain, Kyle, what do you think of? First thought that pops in your head. Dominance.
Yeah,
I think of 100
points. Yeah,
that's like the first
100-point
thing.
game. Yeah.
If you would ask, like, what was he known for? I would say his dominance and then the 100-point game.
100%.
Which has never been broken. 1962, Wilt Chamberlain, Philadelphia, sets an NBA record with 34 free throw attempts, converting only 19 of them, though. It was in the Warriors' 139-120 win over St. Louis Hawks at the Philadelphia Civic Center. So to think that, there was a record there of 100 points, but then a record of 34 free throw attempts in a game.
Wait, you said that score was 139 to 129?
No, 139 to 121.
Holy, they could score back then, too. I would have thought the scores would have been like in the 70s or 80s. I was like, did they play overtime in that game?
That was one of my big takeaways from the Last Dance documentary. Is like you look back at MJ's era, a lot of games ended 93 to 86. Like there were a lot of games that were under 100 points where you just don't see that a lot anymore.
1967, the slingshot goalpost and 6-foot wide border around the field are standard in the NFL. So kind of
slingshot goalpost.
Yeah, I guess what you see. Yeah, because it looks like a slingshot.
Oh, okay.
With the arms. I mean, I guess before it was the two poles that went all the way down on either side, and then the bar across. Some high schools still have that.
Yeah,
it was like the H. Well, then they changed it to a slingshot in 1967. 1980, Miracle on Ice. U.S. ice hockey team beats heavily favored Soviet Union 4-3 at Lake Placid in one of the biggest upsets in Olympic history. I wasn't around for that one. Kyle, you weren't either. Micah?
I think I was.
Micah may have been around for that one.
I think I was calling that one, actually.
Heard of it, though.
But that is one of the most significant upsets in history, especially in American sport. Like, everyone knows about that one. Like, that was a significant moment for more than just hockey. Like, I know there was, obviously, like you said, we weren't around for it, but, like, there was political things going on. And I think that was, was that Cold War era, whatever it was. Things were happening throughout the world, and, then the Americans upset the Soviets, and it was big time game, big time win.
Yeah, and that's one of the things you love about sports is because it brings everything into perspective, brings people together even through a lot of trials. But then it also kind of creates that competitive spirit as well, saying like, no, the U.S. is better. And that was going on during that time. So well-known event there in 1980. And then in 2022, U.S. women's soccer players settled their lawsuit with U.S. Soccer Federation for $24 million and a promise to equalize pay. So it's kind of neat as you go through history to see how things have changed and the dynamics of sports. But always enjoy going over that new little segment here that we've done. We'll continue it on this week and just give you a little bit of insight as we go back in history there on this day.
So I Googled worst sports movies of all time. This is just a random list. I think this is actually from Bleacher Report. Their number one worst movie of all time. I've actually seen this movie. I didn't think it was that bad, but I was pretty young. Mr. 3000, which starred Bernie Mac.
I never
saw it. It was about a baseball player. It was a fictional baseball player that he had 2,999 hits, and he retired or whatever and had to come back and try and get his 3,000th hit. That is what they say is the worst movie of all time. There's some on here that I disagree with. The overarching theme, though, there's a lot of sequels. A lot of, twos in here. I think Slapshot 2 was in here. Caddyshack 2 was in here. Like Mike. Have you ever seen Like Mike?
Yeah, Like Mike. I like that movie.
I like that movie, too. Maybe it's just because I was a little kid, but they have that listed on here, number 6, worst movie of all time, sports movie of all time. So there you go.
There it is. We got it. We'll talk more about that as we go on. And before we wrap up this segment, too, poll of the day. I know we haven't talked a lot about it yet or talked at all about it, but the XFL is underway. And the poll of the day today, I was thinking, are you watching the XFL? Several years ago or many years ago when the XFL came out, it was Vince McMahon, I believe, that started it from the WWF at the time and now WWE. There was some innovations from the XFL that we still have today in professional football. One of those is that Sky camera. That was brought forth in the XFL. I kind of miss the XFL. I'm glad that it's back, but now it ties in, too, with the USFL, and I wonder if that takes away a little bit. But you have XFL now, and then the USFL doesn't get underway until April. But that is our poll of the day. Are you watching the XFL? It's underway. Kyle, have you had a chance to catch up on any games?
I have not. I have not watched the XFL. I have no plans of probably watching the XFL. Maybe if I'm over at a buddy's house and they have it on, great. But I'm with you, Rob. I think it's good for football, and because of the things you just said right there. They're very innovative in some of their rules and some different things that they do. Like you mentioned, the Sky Cam. The NFL, obviously, everyone's basically adopted that now. They have some new things that I know made some news. Was going around social media from their first couple games last week. There was a new kickoff rule that I know some people maybe didn't like, but there was a 3-point conversion, I believe, and there's a couple other different things throughout the XFL that it's like I'm sure the NFL is at least looking at, discussing. Some of these things are we gonna grab these? Are we gonna? Hey, I like that idea and implement it into the National Football League.
Yeah, there was so much fanfare about it getting going again, and then of course COVID hit,
right?
And then that kind of slowed things down. And then Dwayne Johnson came in and took over ownership. And
who?
Dwayne Johnson. Did I say that right?
No.
Who? The Rock.
The Rock.
Yeah, The Rock. I was like, wait a minute. But yeah, The Rock came on, and you were quite. I was like, wait a minute, did I say Dwayne's name? Yeah, The Rock comes in, and he's on the ownership group. But I think in a way it's great for football fans because you end with the Super Bowl. Now you have the XFL, and then when the XFL season's over, USFL's getting started. So you've got this prolonged, but it just doesn't have that same feel as the NFL.
No, and I personally, I'm a football fan. Obviously, look, I played it. It was my profession. And maybe I'm not as big of a just straight football. Like I'm more of a sports fan, but like to me, and I think we talked about this with Andy like last week, is I'm kind of ready to move on, right? Like I had football every day. I coached football. I called the games on the TV side. Like watched every single NDSU game. You watch all the playoff games. You get to a certain point, and the Super Bowl is like, okay, I'm ready to move on. I'm ready for March Madness. I'm ready for golf season. The Players Championships coming up. The Masters are coming up. Like I'm ready for a new sport. Now other people might not be like that. But it seems like that's what football has struggled with. Some of these leagues and these spring leagues is I think there's a little fatigue. And like you mentioned, there's not the history there. Like everyone grew up watching the Vikings or the Packers, whatever your team was. Like your dad, your grandpa, like they watched those. So then you develop a love for it. Like no one knows about the Houston Astronauts or whatever the heck their name is, So there's just not
Space Cowboys.
Yeah. If you just love football and you don't really care, yeah, it's great to have on. But that's why. Like, for me, I probably won't be watching.
The one different rule that I really like, and something that the NFL has flirted with, is that 4th and 15 after scoring a touchdown or scoring
instead
a field goal.
Onside kick, right?
Instead of onside kick, doing that 4th and 15, preventing the health and, helping the health and safety of the players, because that play is very, very dangerous. It's very physical. And then just having a 4th and 15 play, and if you convert it, you have the ball back. I love that. I want the NFL to do that.
Yeah, that is a pretty neat rule. So
there
are things, and that's what I like about these leagues. There are things in these leagues, and we see it with baseball with all the rule changes. There are things in the developmental or the minor leagues, if you will, that do carry over into the big leagues. So we'll continue to have discussion on the XFL. We'll have that poll up again on the Bison 1660 Twitter, so go there now. Cast your vote. If you don't plan on watching it, let us know why. If you do plan on watching it, let us know why. Just comment on those polls as well. When it comes to your electrical needs, you only need one call, and that's to JDP Electric. They're professionals that can follow a strict timeline and get your project done when it's needed. Give them a call, JDP Electric at 232-1991 today to experience the JDP difference. Wes Offerman, NDSU Associate Athletic Director of Communications. He joins us on the other side when we come back here on The Insiders.
A sports talk station that Bison Nation deserves. Bison 1660.
In 1953, Bill Samuels created a simple bourbon, while Margie Samuels worked on her creative vision. A bottle hand-dipped in red wax, wrapped in a hand-cut label, filled with handcrafted bourbon that elevated flavor and remains unchanged as of today. Aromas of woody oak, caramel, and vanilla, with a taste that is sweet and balanced with caramel, vanilla, and fruity essences. Every barrel of Maker's Mark is aged to taste, not time. Maker's Mark, the star of your home bar. Please drink responsibly.
No matter where you work, whether it's at your kitchen table or in the office, you need to collaborate with your team. ProConnect from Consolidated Communications makes it happen. You'll never miss a call when you can answer from your desk phone, laptop, or cell phone. And you can communicate instantly using real-time messaging. Confidently connect with customers over secure video conferencing and work together to create and share documents. Get ready to connect, collaborate, and communicate brilliantly. Choose ProConnect, your team collaboration tool from Consolidated Communications.
Shop the largest new vehicle inventory in the area, only at Corwin Auto. Corwin Auto has over 600 new vehicles available, and one of them can be yours. You heard me. Over 600 new cars, trucks, SUVs, and crossovers for you to choose from. With inventory like that, you don't have to settle. Find exactly what you are looking for. Have a trade? Get top dollar when you purchase any new in-stock or incoming unit. What are you waiting for? Head to any Corwin Auto location today or shop online, corwinauto.com.
Here's your Red River Valley weather update on Bison 1660.
A 20% chance of snow later in the day on your Wednesday with widespread patchy blowing snow throughout the day. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with a high around 0. Wind chill values 33 below. And overnight, a 90% chance of snow and a low of 7 below. Wind gusts around 40 miles per hour. This weather update brought to you by Heartland Trust Company, helping guide families and businesses to make the most of their financial future and always putting their clients' needs first. Visit them online at heartlandtrust.com.
Only Taco John's Valuest menu has the cheese-loving audacity to put nachos inside a burrito. Try our new Nacho Crunch burritos with seasoned beef for just $2 or grilled chicken for $3. The Valuest menu, only at Taco John's. At Taco John's, we could compare our wild-caught Alaska flounder fish tacos to other drive-thru fish options. But we have better fish to fry and serve with fresh pico and chipotle lime sauce. Alaska flounder fish tacos are 2 for $6.50 for a limited time at Taco John's.
When it's time to find a realtor, word of mouth is important. And Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty is a name Bison Nation says often. Todd has helped everyone from coaches and administrators to broadcasters and former players and their families buy homes in the FM area. So many in Bison Nation trust Todd to buy and sell their homes, and you can too. Call Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty today or visit him at 4832 Amber Valley Parkway in Fargo. Todd is a proud partner and the preferred realtor of NDSU Athletics. Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty, moving the herd one home at a time.
From the court to the field and everywhere in between. Your home for NDSU Athletics. Bison 1660.
Rocking and rolling here on a Wednesday on the Insiders. Thanks for joining us. We're just over that 11:30 hour. Nice 72 and sunny here in the Theraldson Ethanol broadcast studio. Thanks for joining us wherever you may be across the radio landscape on the Bison 1660 app. Also streaming online, bison1660.com. Wherever you are, you can always tune in. Even if you're up in space, they got internet up in space. You can just go to bison1660.com and listen to the Insiders. We'll take it globally, worldwide.
One thing that we missed for football, Canadian Football League is pretty popular around these parts too, and Darla Jean commenting on our Facebook page for the Horse Cam, Farming with Passion, by the way. CFL is available starting in June. They start up in the summer.
Yep.
So there's going to be a lot of football going on, and I agree with you. It's just too much football for me. I've moved on. After the Super Bowl, I've moved on to basketball.
I think you can watch football now from the Super Bowl now with XFL, USFL, CFL. You could. There's pretty much no break at this point. If you wanted to watch football every weekend, with a couple exceptions, I'm sure you could pretty much watch it all the way to the start of the next college football and NFL season, which is for me that's just too much.
Well, the good news is basketball is in full swing. Balls are going through the net, and someone that we're honored to have on today here joining us on the Insiders, it's our good friend Wes Offerman, the NDSU Associate Athletic Director of Communications here on the Epic Companies Hotline. Wes, is there too much football going on these days?
Funny, we were just talking about that this morning, Rob. I read that just between the XFL, USFL, and NFL, 46 of the 52 weekends you can watch American professional football.
Yeah, that's it's a little crowded, I would say.
Yeah, I'm not going to answer your question, but I'll just offer that fact.
All right.
And you can probably fill the other 6 with Canadian football as well. So
that is why it is
Wes
Offerman.
I'd like to watch football, but I don't know if I like to watch football that much.
Well, one thing that we do like to watch, and I know you do too, is NDSU men's basketball. A lot of great things happening with the program. I know this year called the Baby Bison, and that kind of leads me into the first question, Wes. You have done a tremendous job on the social media side, and I know not just with basketball. I know that you're also doing track and field as well, but we'll start with the basketball discussion. Just what has this year been like for you, and what have you really enjoyed most? You've been with the program quite some time now, Wes.
Yeah, it has been I think everybody's probably said it, but it's the cliche. It's been a roller coaster of a year. You know, I don't think that first month or 6 weeks was very enjoyable for too many people. But as you can probably attest to, it was kind of odd because we saw the chemistry off the court between all the players, and their character around the hotels and the airports and the gyms and everything. So we weren't too concerned about that, but. Those first few weeks were a little bit rough. It's been a lot more fun lately, and I'm sure you'd probably echo me on this, that it's just a really, really fun group of guys to be around. And obviously, it's more fun when you're winning, but they're a good group of guys. They make it a joy every day when we're doing media things and getting ready for games and all that stuff.
Wes, I was scrolling through social media, and obviously we're having you on, so I went on your Twitter page, and so I have to ask you about your Twitter bio, and your Twitter picture is Vince Vaughn. I believe that's from Anchorman, and your Twitter bio, for anyone who is not following Wes, got no jumper, but I ball a lot. I love paper like I'm Michael Scott. Can you just explain where the picture and the bio came from?
Well, the picture is it's actually Wes Mantooth, which Roger Kish, head NDSU wrestling coach, he was calling me that about 10 years ago when I started at NDSU, and I was working for the wrestling team before I was with the basketball program. So he called me Wes Mantooth, and that either shows how loyal I am or how lazy I am, I guess, that I haven't changed my profile picture in over 10 years. But that's where the Wes Mantooth comes from. That's from about 10 years ago, and it hasn't been changed. And then huge fan of The Office. I've watched The Office way too much, so any reference to Michael Scott, and that was probably about, for a 30-some-year-old Midwestern male, that was probably about the most fly Twitter bio I could come up with. So
I love it.
That's what
I'm
we
also
got.
an Office fan, so I appreciate it. I was not making fun of you, by the way.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh no, I appreciate it. If I anytime I run into somebody who's willing to talk about The Office, I open up some free time in my day so we can do that.
Again, Wes Offerman joining us here on the Insiders on the Epic Companies Hotline. Wes, kind of staying on that social media train right now. A lot of great content coming out on the NDSU men's Twitter account. There's been a lot of really cool stuff. I mentioned Baby Bison earlier. I just wanted to know, who is the brains behind this? Because one of my favorites, too, was an image there of Jakari and Damari in a Ferrari earlier this year.
Well, you're putting me in a tough spot here, Rob, because I don't like to take credit, but a few of those things I probably could take credit for. Some of them are mine, but I don't know if you ever see the movie Titanic, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like I liken myself to like the grimy, dirty guys who are down in the basement of the Titanic, like shoveling coal into the fires. So my, like Scott Anderson and Davis Kirk and Bailey from our marketing team around here, they kind of give me the content, the videos, the photos, the graphics. And I'm just like the grimy dude in the bowels of the Titanic. I just shovel it out on social media. So I could take credit for a little bit of it, but it's really a team effort. They've come up with a lot of cool stuff this year for our throwback night and our gold out that we did against North Dakota, and it's been fun. It's been refreshing to work with them and see all the things that they're able to help us do to promote our team.
You don't have to give away all the secrets, but will there possibly be a Jakari White tweet for this whiteout game that's tomorrow night?
This is kind of embarrassing, but I hadn't even thought of that. I'll have to come up with something. Maybe we could put like Jakari's head on Walter White or something. And it could be like white on white on white, like a Breaking Bad.
I think that would work really well.
Wow, look
Wes.
at that, right off the top of his head.
Yeah,
I love it.
Wes, there needs.
I've had some coffee today, so I'm fired up. I can get some ideas cranking.
Wes, I'm envisioning, we got to be careful having you on the show here because there's professionals that are listening that are from marketing companies. They're going to be like, man, we need to get this guy. There may be a Wes Offerman creative agency starting here in the next 10 years or so.
Well, I'm staring at my door right now, Rob, and nobody's knocking on it, so I won't get my hopes up.
Well, again, Wes Offerman here joining us. Wes, it's not just the basketball, but you're doing a lot with track and field as well. What has just that journey been like for you? When you're on the road, you're covering basketball, but I see you working so hard there on the bus as well, getting information out with track and field. Just tell us a little bit about that and just what the day-to-day looks like for you.
Yeah, this is definitely my busiest time of year personally, just with indoor track. Gets fired up about mid-January, so every weekend, 2 basketball games and then 1 or 2 track meets. So, yeah, just the weekends are a little bit busy, but more times than not, I follow our track and field programs from afar, from wherever I am with the basketball team, just keeping an eye on their results. And they've, like every year for the last 10 years, they've kept me pretty busy with all their school records and nationally ranked marks and things this year. So it's busy, but it's fun. I mean, I always tell people my job would be a lot easier or slower. I wouldn't have much to do if our teams weren't so good, if they didn't have such, great personality and character and skills to promote. And fortunately, they give me a lot of content and a lot of good things to work with, so they keep me pretty busy.
Well, sticking with the track and field side of things, I know one of the stories that, NDSU and the Fargo community really loved to see was a story about Kendra Kelly. And I'm sure you had a hand in writing that story, actually looking at it on Twitter right now, called Full Speed Ahead, put out by NDSU Track and Field. Just talk about, her story and what it was like kind of putting that all together.
It was really cool. I don't know if I can come up with a better phrase for it than that. There's one I'd like to say, but ends in a swear word. So I think Rob told me the FCC listens in. I don't know if I should do that. But she is just such a quality spirit and energy. Like one time last year, not to humble brag here, but I was over at the indoor track running on the treadmill. Thank you very much. I was working out a little bit.
Way to go.
And I saw, this was probably last April, and Kendra came in, and it was probably, it was about 3 months or so after she had Braden. And from across the building, you could see all of her teammates just light up, like they all flocked to her to go say hi, give her a hug, just be around her. And she just has that kind of infectious energy. She's very competitive, very determined, and really, it's been really cool to see how many people have sort of gotten in her corner this year since she's made her comeback. It's been really inspiring, and just Rob could vouch for this too. When you've had a kid, a lot of things change. Your time demands and your schedules, and just physically, mentally, emotionally, it is not easy. And it just boggles my mind to see what Kendra is doing.
Again, Wes Offerman joining us here. You can find him on Twitter. Follow Wes and all the great things that he's doing at WesOFF. That's Wes Off. Wes, before we let you go, just one final question. You've been with the program for a considerable amount of time. As you mentioned earlier, you were working with wrestling prior to basketball and track and field. Just what brings you the most joy? What have you really enjoyed about this journey with NDSU?
Just the relationships with the people. I mean, we've won a lot of championships and done a lot of cool things, but the stuff that keeps you coming back every day is, getting to interact with a Dave Richmond or a Roger Kish or a Stevie Keller and try to help them accomplish what they want to accomplish. Try to help their athletes get recognized and get credit. And we've had a lot of really, really cool athletes over the year with just great personalities that even after they're long gone when they graduate, they become kind of lifelong friends. So that's been the coolest part for me is, I came from a small town in Iowa, so to be part of a Division I athletic program here has given me a lot of really cool experiences and just a lot of life experiences that I wouldn't have gotten anywhere else.
When will the official Wes Offerman Stories from the Road from an Associate Athletic Director of Communications be on Amazon? I'm waiting for the book to come out, Wes.
Oh, gosh, I think you're really overestimating how much free time I have, Rob. Honestly, I've thought about that. I should have started writing some of these things down that have happened, just different odd experiences in airports and hotels. And I should have kept a Microsoft Word document from 2013 on of just all the things we've experienced, because it might interest a couple people, but it's just it's an interesting life out there. You see some things that you wouldn't see just sitting on your couch in Fargo.
The most interesting this year was the power going out at the hotel we were out there, and trying to figure out a way
about that.
For logistics and everything with the guys. They couldn't watch video.
Gosh, that seems like it was about 4 years ago. I forgot that even happened. That was in Lawrence, right?
That's right.
Before we played, right after we played Kansas, right before.
Yep.
Maybe both.
Well,
I think it was out all night.
A lot of fun, a lot of stories. Wes, thank you for the incredible job that you do, and especially helping me out there in my first year. And again, thanks for all you do, not just for me, of course, but for NDSU, and most importantly for the student athletes. You do a great job, and looking forward to getting to know you more and having some more of those stories to add to that book one day, Wes.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. Hey, before I go, I got to flip it around. I got one question for you.
Uh-oh, here we go.
As a lifelong Texan who woke up this morning and saw -12 with a -30 wind chill on your phone, I don't know if you can turn off that FCC filter, if there's a blocker or something. What was the first swear word you said this morning when you saw that?
It's FCC. I can't say it. Wes. But it was in there. Trust me. Let me just say it started with the phrase of "I'm getting tired of this," and then stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it. Yep. Good.
All right, Wes. Appreciate you joining us. Thanks again.
Yep. We'll see you around, Rob.
All right, there he is again. Wes Offerman joining us. Great insight from him. Does an incredible job with NDSU men's basketball, also track and field there. And when you go to the website, gobison.com, a lot of those stories after those events are from Wes. He works right after. I mean, we're on the bus right after a game. He's actually typing up the stories at the end of the game. He does that while I'm wrapping up the radio show on the post-game side, and then usually has that thing fired off within an hour. Again, just does great work there. Again, Wes Offerman on the Epic Companies hotline. We'll step aside. We'll take a break because we got one more segment here before we go to the top of the hour. Remember, start thinking about those basketball movies. Start thinking about them because we're going to have the greatest sports movies of all time when we come back on The Insiders.
The most complete Bison coverage in the region. Your Bison Nation station, Bison 1660.
Papa Murphy's $9.99 extra large New York style pizza
Is a big deal.
So we're going big to tell everyone about it. How big? We're talking action movie big. Carving $9.99 XLNY into a mountainside big. And shouting it from the literal mountaintops big. Because the XLNY is everything you can expect from a classic New York style pizza, hot and fresh out of your oven for just $9.99. Order the XLNY pizza at papamurphys.com.
Put that tax return to good use this year by paying cash for your next vehicle at Corwin Public Wholesale. Shop over 300 used vehicles at wholesale prices with vehicles starting at just $900. You might even have some cash left over. Cars, trucks, crossovers, and SUVs. They have it all at wholesale prices. Get more for your tax return this year at Corwin Public Wholesale. Corwin Public Wholesale, where your tax dollar goes further this tax season. Located right on the I-29 frontage road, Fargo.
Hi, it's Sandy from Raybon Sew and Quilt Shop. You know, Jennifer and I love stitching all kinds of bags. Handbags, tote bags, organizers. If it's a bag, we like to make it. Join us for a weekend of working on bags at your own pace. For $159, you can join us and make your own bag. Registration includes a 6-foot table, lunch, trunk show, instructor assistance, games, and prizes, all at the Country Inn and Suites. For more information or to register, stop into the shop or visit us at ray-bond.com.
Are you an electrician? Are you looking for a change? JDP Electric is looking for commercial, industrial, and service electricians. JDP is looking for both journeyman and apprentice electricians. You could start your career today with a family-owned and operated business who's been serving our community for over 20 years. Full-time positions available with great pay and benefits. Call 701-232-1991 or email info@jdpelectric.net. Start your new tomorrow today. Come, be a part of the JDP difference.
The story of the nurse and the foot pain that nearly brought him down.
I feel like I'm giving people their lives back.
Robert lived to take care of his patients, but he couldn't do it unless he took care of his foot pain.
I have plantar fasciitis. It'll almost put you on your knees. That's how much it hurts.
His own recovery started when he got fitted for arch supports at the Good Feet store.
Now that I'm pain free, I can make these people feel better.
Can't beat that. Stop by or schedule your free fitting at goodfeet.com. A story of first downs and second chances. Meet former pro football player Michael Robinson.
I wanted to keep playing, but my feet hurt.
And all those big league experts couldn't help?
You have access to anything, but none of it worked.
Finally, he got fitted with Good Feet arch supports.
Let me tell you something. They work.
Now, he recommends Good Feet to
anybody. If you move, go to the Good Feet store.
Sign up for your free fitting at goodfeet.com.
Stop by the Good Feet store on 13th Avenue near TJ Maxx Plaza for a free fitting. Call 1-800-NEW-FEET or visit goodfeetdakotas.com.
You're listening to your home for NDSU athletics. Bison 1660.
Back at it here on The Insiders. As we wrap up hour number 1. Thanks for joining us. Bison 1660 AM, 92.7 FM. Rob Hipp alongside Kyle Emanuel, Micah Bendy, running the jams for us back there today. It is a little jam. I always like those intros. It kind of gets you fired up. That Glorious one is my favorite, though.
We have a great rotation of intros. Great, diverse music when we're coming back on the Insiders.
Love it. Welcome back in. As I promised, we're going to give away some NDSU men's basketball tickets. I have a pair versus St. Thomas on Whiteout Thursday, which, by the way, all you probably have to do is just stand outside. You don't even have to worry about wearing white clothes now because you just stand outside. It'll probably snow on you, and you go into Shill Center, and you'll be whited out.
That's a good point.
But you probably do need to wear white because it will melt. That's on Thursday. I've got 2 tickets to give away to the Western Illinois game on Saturday. Very critical matchups down the stretch. So here's how it's going to work. Normally we say caller number 5 at the end of blah, 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 and then we'll go to break, and then you could win the tickets. We're going to do something a little special today on air. All you got to do is give us...
Whoa. You can't tell them yet. Don't they have to call in first? Then you're going to tell them?
Yeah, don't give them. We've already told them basketball.
Yeah, we need this off the top.
So here we go.
Sports-related movies.
Here we go. It's basketball, something related to basketball movies. Call us right now. I gave him something. Call us right now. 701-476-1660 is the number. You will be on air. Again, 701-476-1660 if you'd like a chance to win these tickets. It's not very difficult, but call us, and we'll see if there's any brave folks out there that want to win these and have a chance to be on the air. Some folks don't want to be on the air.
My list has grown, so I don't want to give any movies right now. I'm up to 5 now for sure. 5 for sure. Where I'm just like, okay, I have like in a variety of sports. I have some boxing. I got some basketball. I got some football. I don't have any baseball. Don't have any baseball in my list right now.
Ooh, you're missing a good one then. I
probably am missing a good one.
Yeah, but for me, is yours like? Did you notice is yours like within an era, or are you all over the map years wise?
Well, no. I grew up in a house where like my dad liked watching like his sports movies when he was growing up. So I have 1 or 2 that are more from my dad's era, where like it was like where he was like in like his like 30s, and then I've grown to like those movies as well.
Yeah. So all you got to do right now, call us. First caller, 701-476-1660. We've got some men's basketball tickets for you, and you got an opportunity to win these tickets. So give us a call. While we're doing this, and I'll tell you how you can win them when you call. While we're waiting, we did have some text messages coming in. We know a lot of people, whenever we give these away, in between the segments, they'll call right whenever we give away. But we're going to go ahead and start here with something. I want to go over our list of movies, favorite movies of all time. Kyle, I'm going to start with you. I've got a list. Favorite sports movies of all time. Kyle, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, you just want me to list them?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, like I said, I went through and Googled some and kind of looked through and just kind of went with my gut. Didn't try to overthink it too much, just kind of went with my gut. So I got 5, and I got an honorable mention. I think my honorable mention I would actually slide into my top 5. But anyway, here they are. I'll start with the honorable mention. The Sandlot. That was the one I was just talking to you about, Micah. That is a baseball movie. That is like quintessential my childhood. Like I remember that movie, love that movie, Sandlot. Number 5, and I am not a hockey fan, but I love the movie Miracle. We were just talking about it with the big upset that happened today, I believe, in 1980. I think that's a phenomenal, wow, words are hard, movie. Number 4, Remember the Titans. Classic. Everyone loves Remember the Titans. If you've seen Remember the Titans, you love Remember the Titans. Number 3, I went the comedy route. I love comedy, and I loved Adam Sandler. I also love golf. Happy Gilmore at number 3. Number 2, I don't know if this is number 2, but I left it at number 2. I don't know if I would really, now that I'm looking at it, I probably would have moved it down. Space Jam. Again, like when I go look at my childhood, I loved Michael Jordan. You love cartoons, you stick them together. It's a great movie. Space Jam 1, by the way, not the LeBron version. The first, obviously. But I just had to throw that out there. And number 1, Friday Night Lights. That movie like hit me to the core. I rarely ever, if ever, cry during movies. That one almost gets me every single time when they lose the state championship game at the very end, and then you got the awesome music with everything. Friday Night Lights, number 1 for me.
All right, that's a good list. There were several on there that I didn't even think about. Micah,
that was a good list.
Yeah, it's a great list.
Thank you.
What's on your list, Micah? Favorite sports movies, greatest sports movies of all time on your list.
Now I have a top 5, but I don't really have them ranked. It was hard for me to pick and choose between these 5 favorites, so I'm just going to list them off. One of them, not number 1, Coach Carter. Anybody seen Coach Carter? Coach Carter is one of my favorite ones, and since I have more of a basketball upbringing in my childhood, I have some more basketball ones. Second basketball one, Hoosiers. Hoosiers is a little back in the day movie.
It is.
It's not very recent, but Hoosiers was a big one for me. Love the story. And then the third of my top 5, Remember the Titans, also has to be in there. Number 4, I just want Rocky. The Rocky series.
Yep.
Rocky has to be in there. I said it was a boxing movie. Had to put that in there. And then this one might ruffle some feathers, but I had to get some comedy in there. Major League.
Okay.
Major League. I really enjoy that one. It's just funny, and it's good sports. I like having some baseball in there, too.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you my list here. And here's my list. Here's how it goes. I think I'm going to start here. Not taking one off your list. I typed up this list before we even talked about this. So nothing that I took from any of you guys.
Yeah, we didn't share until just now.
Number 6 on mine, Happy Gilmore.
Nice. Nice.
1996, Adam Sandler. Number 5, didn't even think about this. Worked out the same way. Another Adam Sandler movie from 1998, The Waterboy.
Another good one.
I've got to have that one in there. Number 4, and this one could have been more towards the top, but I liked the messages of the movies that I picked at the top. Number 4, from 1992, it was Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson. In a movie where Billy Hoyle is a former college player who makes a living by hustling street ballers who assume he cannot play well.
Is that White Men Can't Jump?
White Men Can't Jump.
That's one I haven't seen.
That's a good one. That's a good movie.
I've heard some great things. I haven't seen it.
Another movie from 2005 makes my list at number 3. Samuel Jackson, starring in a film that was based on the true story of Richmond High School basketball coach Ken Carter, who made headlines in 1999 for suspending his undefeated high school basketball team due to poor academic results. None other than Coach Carter. Making number 2 on my list of the greatest sports movies from 2000. Someone from, well, you already mentioned, Denzel Washington. Remember the Titans. Got to have that one. My number 1 movie, greatest sports movie of all time, from 2006. It was an American sports drama film directed by James Gartner based on a true story surrounding the events leading to the 1966 NCAA University Division Basketball Championship. Don Haskins, portrayed by Josh Lucas, and head coach of Texas Western College, now known as UTEP, the University of Texas El Paso, coached a team with an all-black starting lineup, a first in NCAA history. A man that I've got to know who was portrayed in that movie, Willie Kager, none other than Glory Road.
That's a great one. I didn't even think about that one.
That is my number 1 movie. So we will give away these tickets. We're going to step aside. We'll take a break. We got a lot more coming here on the Insiders. I did have several text messages coming in, by the way. Of one said I have allergies or I would have called in. So we do have the faithful listeners out there. I do have these NDSU men's basketball tickets. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give them away when we step aside. Caller number 4 will get those tickets. Give us a call, 701-476-1660. Again, caller number 4 at 701-476-1660. We've got more on the Insiders when we come back.
Invest in your community with Epic Companies. Hey, this is Mac. Have you been looking to diversify your portfolio and dive into real estate? We offer multiple types of investing through our mixed-use buildings and entertainment plazas. If you are an accredited investor and interested in hearing more about the investment process and how you can be part of enhancing the quality of life in the area, visit epiccompaniesnd.com to review our investment options. That's epiccompaniesnd.com.
Don't let your profits get stuck in your truck this spring. Dirt, rock, let it slide with Super Slide. Super Slide is a plastic, non-stick, self-lubricating, and seamless liner that eliminates haulback in your dump box or dump trailer. Super Slide is available in various grades, widths, and thicknesses, and Horn Plastics can have you in and out in no time. Get your new liner now to ensure you maximize productivity and profitability in 2023. Super Slide from Horn Plastics, created and preferred for every job. Visit hornplastics.com to schedule your installation.
Snow, ice, and below zero temps. Typical Midwest weather, but not so kind to your vehicle. That's why Jiffy Lube of Fargo is here to make sure you have your vehicle in top working condition and ready for these winter roads and temps. Oil changes are the #1 maintenance item that's neglected. At Jiffy Lube of Fargo, no appointment needed at any of the 3 locally owned locations. Jiffy Lube of Fargo, where you can do more in a jiffy. Jiffy Lube of Fargo, proudly serving the metro area for 5 decades.
When you're in love and ready for that next big step, celebrate with the perfect ring that says, I choose you. At Wimmer's Diamonds, our jewelry experts will help you find the engagement ring that says, I want to spend my life with you. The ring that declares commitment. The ring that has her or him saying yes. At Wimmer's Diamonds, we believe in love, now and forever. Located at 4582 32nd Avenue South in Fargo.
Hey, hon, gotta go. I got pizza. The pizza's calling me.
Honey, are you going out in the cold with the guys again?
Well, yeah, there's gonna be Pizza Patrol.
Is that why you go ice fishing?
Hello, there's gonna be Pizza Patrol.
Can we watch a movie tonight once you get back?
If you order Pizza Patrol, I'm there.
Call 241-9000 or order online at 241-9000.com.
And I just want to put, was that a yes? Like, there will be Pizza Patrol.
You are on the service, I keep you on the road. You know you really are for the Pizza Patrol.
So I can buy the Chevy truck for $4,000 less than invoice?
Yes, you can at Gateway Chevrolet in Fargo. Up to $2,000 customer cash or 2.9% financing for 60 months. Plus up to $2,000 loyalty cash on select new Chevy trucks. Shop the savings on all new Chevrolets today at Gateway Chevrolet. Save thousands with 2.9% financing for 60 months on select models. Only at Gateway Chevrolet in Fargo. Find new roads. Details gatewayfargo.com.
KQWB West Fargo, KPFX HD3 Kindred, and K224FD Fargo. Bison 1660, powered by Gateway Chevrolet, Cadillac, Nissan, and Hyundai in Fargo.
And here's what you need to know.
Sunday's NBA All-Star Game drew 4.5 million viewers, making it the least watched edition of the game on record, down 29% from last year. Top-ranked men's tennis player Novak Djokovic has asked American authorities for special permission to enter the country in order to play in tournaments next month in California and Florida. Djokovic is not vaccinated against COVID-19, and TSA has said the requirement for foreign travelers to be fully vaccinated would be in place until at least mid-April. In the NFL, reports say former Oregon and Florida State head coach Willie Taggart is expected to be the next running backs coach for the Ravens. And reports say 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy is delaying his impending elbow surgery due to ongoing inflammation. Purdy was scheduled to have the procedure done today, but it will now have to wait until early March. With a 6-month recovery timeline, signs still point to Purdy being ready for the beginning of next season. I'm Nick Cope.
You've got the insiders.
How you play today, from this moment on, is how you will be remembered.
That's what living is. That's right. The 6 inches in front of your face.
Bringing you what you need to know and a whole lot more. Topics you care about, guests you know, and the conversations you came to hear. The Insiders are presented by Proceed. Need seed? Think Proceed.
This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
Now, here are the Insiders.
The Insiders. The Insiders. The Insiders. Insiders.
Rob Hip and Andy Rickoff.
Welcome back at it here, top of the hour on the Insiders. Thanks for joining us. Kyle Emanuel, Micah Bendy, and Rob Hip here on Bison 1660. Been a fun show so far during that first hour. Congratulations to JD. Had a lot of folks call in after the break. JD was the winner of those men's basketball tickets.
I was super excited because I was going to be able to play this sound. We haven't been able to play it.
That is correct.
Yeah.
I wanted to play that sound after they got their 3 movies in 10 seconds. That was what the challenge was going to be.
Yeah. Next time we'll make it a little bit easier. I think it was a little bit too tough, so we'll let you know and then you call us. We'll make it a little bit easier this first go.
A little bit nervous. I get it. You're a little bit nervous about being wrong live on air. I get it. I'm nervous every day for doing that when I come in here.
Yeah,
so I get it.
You were like, you do a good job of holding because I saw you with that energy drink and you were kind of shaking.
Yeah.
No, you're not, Kyle. Welcome back in. A lot of fun here on the show today. Got a great second hour rolling for you as we'll talk a little college hoops here on this one, looking across the entire landscape, not just with NDSU. And then we will have our friend Q Myers joining us as he is the program director of Las Vegas Sports Radio Network and the host of the Locked In on Raiders podcast. He'll be joining us here in a little while as well. We'll also talk about the NFL franchise tax tag and then our thoughts on roster management. That kind of wraps it up here on the second hour. But we'll get started right now talking a little NCAA college basketball. 'Tis the season. I felt it was a good opportunity to go through now as we're in that final week heading down before the madness of March starts. I like saying that because March Madness is kind of overused, so we'll just say the madness of March to kind of change it up a little bit, Kyle.
Yeah, and it's one of the best times of the year. I know for me, like personally, and I follow college basketball a little bit, but I think there's a lot of people that would agree with me. Like, yeah, you don't really pay attention to the regular season so much. You watch your teams, right? Like, I pay attention to NDSU, but it's once you get into this season, like you get into I even really enjoy the conference championships. You got the Summit League that's on ESPN, and you got all the different conference championships going on to see who's going to get in. There's the bubble talk. Like, people love debating. That's the reason why the college football playoff is on the same token is like so popular because they should have been in, they shouldn't have been in. You get that same discussion here in March Madness.
Here is the AP countdown as we look at it right now, the final poll of the regular season week. something stands out this year. No team's undefeated as we head into the final week. In weeks past, we've had some undefeated teams that have ran the table, but so far, not the story. Number 1 on the AP College Top 25, Houston has moved up now above Alabama, 25-2, followed by Alabama, then Kansas. That rounds out your top 3. I knew going in, a lot of folks were saying Houston had the talent. I think they're right where they're supposed to be, and a great job this year for Houston.
Well, yeah, and we think of college basketball, obviously Houston has had some good runs in the past year, and they've had good teams just in these last 5 or so years. But one thing that's kind of different about this year's year of college basketball, the Blue Bloods aren't really dominating like they were. Kentucky isn't what they used to be. Even you could argue Kansas isn't what they used to be. They're not as dominant. And that's kind of the special thing about college basketball is that's what you want out of March Madness. You want any team in the tournament to be able to beat anybody. There's not one or two teams just dominating the whole era.
Yeah, and I might be jumping ahead here, but it feels wide open. And I know you could make that argument for a lot of years in college basketball. Like, yeah, maybe there's 1 or 2 that you feel really good about, but it's usually pretty wide open. But like this year, I know Andy talked about it last week, but there's been like 8 or 9 number 1 teams ranked number 1 to lose this year. I'm looking at the preseason poll from the start of the year. North Carolina was ranked number 1.
Yeah, and boy, they've really dropped out.
And they've completely dropped out. Houston was at number 3, so like you said, Rob, people expected some good things from them, and they've kind of delivered.
They have. You look at the 4 through 10, UCLA at 23-4, Purdue in that 5th spot, 24-4, Virginia at 21-4, Arizona 24-4. They're in the 7th spot. The Longhorns, they're in Austin at 21-6. And the Big 12 being represented a couple of times here, actually a few times in the top 25, with Baylor below them at number 9, Marquette at number 10. That'll round out the top 10. You go through 11 through 17, it's Tennessee, Gonzaga, Miami, Florida, Kansas State at 14, St. Mary's at 15, Xavier at 16, Indiana at 17, and then going through the remaining stretch here at number 18 is UConn, number 19 Creighton, number 20 Providence. I think one of the biggest surprises in this top 25 this year, how about Northwestern out of the Big Ten, as they're holding on to that number 21 spot in the final regular season poll here from the AP. Then it's San Diego State at 22, Iowa State ranked 23, TCU, another Big 12 team. Big 12 dominating again this season at number 24. And then last, but certainly not least, the Aggies. The Aggies are in there, Micah, at number 25 out of the SEC.
Fun fact, off topic, NDSU used to be called the Aggies, by the way.
I knew that, yeah.
There you go.
The team that stood out to me there, Rob, because I'd heard this earlier in the season when they climbed all the way to number 1, Purdue. You mentioned Purdue. They're in there with just like 4 losses or whatever on the year. They were outside of the top 25 in the preseason poll. Weren't even ranked in the preseason poll. They made it all the way to number 1 for a couple of weeks, I know. So that just kind of goes back to my point. It feels wide open, and I think it is. Obviously, there's some really good teams. There's a couple Blue Bloods, but I know there's some people saying, like, you look at some of the top teams, it looks like we're talking about the college football playoff. Alabama, Tennessee. Some of these teams that you think of as like football powerhouses are now coming alive in the basketball world.
I like
as well.
seeing it because every year it gets kind of. I like to see new fresh blood in there. Every year before it was like it's always Gonzaga in like the top 5, or a Duke or a UNC. Kansas is always in there, so it's great to see. And I'm a little biased just being from that area, but Houston being at number 1, that program has really turned things around over the last 5 years or so, and should make a good run as we head in to the madness of March coming up. We'll step aside, take a break. Before we do, I want to remind you, Insiders is brought to you by Proseed. When you need seed, think Proseed online at proseed.net. Q Myers, also known as your boy Q, he joins us to talk Raiders football on the Epic Companies hotline when we return.
Champions play here. Your home for the Thundering Herd. Bison 1660.
We take great pride in really doing all the research and the work behind the scenes to make sure that our products just work.
We have our own staff member that helps pick the hybrids and the varieties that work in our area. It's meant for you, not for somebody 200 miles away.
We test our seed locally. We produce our seed locally, so we get to see our production fields, where they need to be, and if they work there.
Need seed, think Proseed. Proseed.net, great seed at a reasonable price.
Happy St. Patrick's Day,
Hey!
It's back. Fargo's official St. Patrick's Day pub crawl presented by Bud Light.
Grab your friends and your green gear and head downtown March 11th for the official St. Patty's Day pub crawl.
Kickoff at 1 p.m.
Grab a passport at any of the participating bars and enjoy the St. Patty's Day specials.
Get your passport stamped at each location to receive the commemorative St. Patty's Day finisher medal at the Old Broadway.
Find all the details on Facebook.
Special thanks to the Bridges Apartments.
Happy St. Patrick's Day!
It's the St. Patrick's Day pub crawl presented by Bud Light.
If there's one thing I know about farmers, it's that they are resilient. This is Scott Zolandic with Cornerstone Bank. Farmers are known to rise to ever-changing challenges, whether it be higher land prices and rent costs, risk management, or diversification. Cornerstone Bank offers an experienced team that you can turn to. If you're looking to save, borrow, or spend, Cornerstone Bank will find the best financial options for business, ag operations, and your personal needs. Come see us at Cornerstone Bank.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
About a month ago, we had some unexpected plumbing issues. We called Valley Service Mechanical in a panic and were pleasantly surprised with the professional that came to our rescue. He took the time to explain the issues to us, and you could really tell he enjoyed what he was doing and the pride he had representing Valley Service Mechanical.
When your heating and cooling needs help and your plumbing is on the fritz, call Valley Service Mechanical, 701-293-5701. Online at valleyservice.net.
Founded on family values, Dakota Underground is known for providing quality projects at superior timelines. Their 40-year reputation has been built by motivated people who work hard and always do the right thing. They're currently hiring heavy equipment operators, pipe layers, concrete finishers, and truck drivers to join their talented team. Learn on the job, work your way up, and earn a good living for you and your family. Easy apply online at dakotaunderground.net. That's dakotaunderground.net.
Here's your Red River Valley weather update on Bison 1660.
A 20% chance of snow later in the day on your Wednesday with widespread patchy blowing snow throughout the day. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with a high around 0. Wind chill values 33 below. And overnight, a 90% chance of snow and a low of 7 below. Wind gusts around 40 miles per hour. This weather update brought to you by Heartland Trust Company, helping guide families and businesses to make the most of their financial future and always putting their clients' needs first. Visit them online at heartlandtrust.com.
Hey, Bison Nation, this is NDSU quarterback Cam Miller.
This one is a keeper by Miller, left side touchdown.
And you're listening to The Insiders on Bison 1660.
Welcome back at it here on The Insiders. Rob Hibb alongside Kyle Emanuel. Micah Benny running the dials for us. Thanks for listening wherever you may be, on the FM airwaves, on the AM airwaves, or across the digital landscape on the Bison 1660 app. We welcome you in as always as we continue rolling here in our second hour. Theraldson Ethanol, proud to partner with Summit Carbon Solutions, helping reduce the carbon footprint by capturing, transporting, and permanently storing CO2 emissions, cutting carbon intensity in half. Well, we will head back over to the Epic Companies hotline, and now joined by a first-time guest. Welcome in, as we always do with the gong, Q Myers, Program Director of Las Vegas Sports Radio Network and host of the Locked On Raiders podcast on the Epic Companies hotline. Q, good to chat with you, man. How are things there in Las Vegas? It's nice and chilly here in Fargo.
Yeah, it's a little chilly here too, but it's always great here in Las Vegas. There's always a lot to talk about. The Raiders keep us very busy, so can't say that there's ever a dull day here in Vegas. So it's a blessing to be on with you guys. I do appreciate it.
Well, Q, you know in this industry the world is always really small, and I had first met you, I guess, 6 or 7 months ago. With some opportunities, and you and I were chatting, and it goes back to Central Texas, where you were there in the Waco area, and now in Las Vegas. You've been there for a while. Just tell us a little bit about that journey before we lead in and talk Raiders.
Yeah, man, it's been awesome. I was in Central Texas and Waco, as you mentioned, for about 10 or 11 years, and really kind of got my footing in sports radio, and always had an opportunity, or always wanted the opportunity to get back to the West Coast, as that's where I'm originally from the Bay Area. And, this opportunity in Las Vegas popped up, and the Raiders were my favorite team growing up. So I thought, well, hey, this works. I can do sports talk radio, and I can cover my favorite team growing up. And, I've learned so much from being in Central Texas on really how to cover a team professionally, and how to really, get down to the nuts and bolts and really take the fandom out of it at times as well. Even though that's difficult at times, it's a heck of a challenge, and it's a lot of fun. And this ride here to Vegas has been incredible.
I love your Twitter handle as well, because you kept that Waco in there. It's at your boy 25, your boy Q254. So that's the area code. That's there. Right. Well,
that's
again,
right. Got to represent.
Absolutely. Well, again, Q Myers joining us here Also, they call you your boy Q. And just wanted to chat a little bit about the Raiders today in the NFL. You know, I think the big question that's looming on everybody's mind there is with Derek Carr being out, and I think that there's not going to be an immediate answer at that quarterback spot. Just wanted to open up with your thoughts on that, and how's that search looking?
Yeah, I mean, it's been the conversation we have every day, and this is the first time I have to admit that, you know, as a guy covering the Raiders professionally, that it's been a quarterback conversation. It's been a question mark, who's going to be the quarterback. I mean, the Raiders got Derek Carr in 2014, and I was in Central Texas, as you mentioned, at the time, and I remember saying that, hey, I think this is a really good guy for the Raiders, and they ended up getting him, and he's been that steady guy ever since. And so this year going into this offseason, it's like, wow, this is a quarterback search. So this has been the conversation every day. There's a lot of conversation about Jarrett Stidham. We saw what he did at the end of last year, two games. He lost both games, but he played pretty good, first 2 career starts ever. And then you have a bunch of rookies that maybe you can add. And, of course, there's a conversation about veterans like, Aaron Rodgers, who apparently has come out of the dark now, and Jimmy G, who has familiarity with Josh McDaniels, and Tom Brady, who retired. I mean, it's just there's so many different directions that this team could go with the immediate future and then the long-term future of the Raiders at the quarterback position. So that's why it's so intriguing, and really none of us have a great answer until we start to see how this plan unfolds. And unfortunately for us, we haven't seen anything just yet.
Q, tell us a little bit more about the Derek Carr situation, how everything unfolded, because to me it seemed like it came down to 2 things. Were they just not happy with his performance, or did it strictly come down to numbers and salary cap and money?
I think it had to do with the money, and it went with the performance, right? I don't think that they looked at the performance that they saw from Derek and said he's going to be worth the money that we're going to be paying him moving forward. That's kind of the impression that I got from the whole situation, is that the $40 million that was going to be guaranteed on February 15th it was too much money for what they were seeing from Derek. And from all understanding, I think early in the season they started to feel like, you know what, this is not going to be the guy. And then ultimately they sat him down after that Christmas Eve loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he just wasn't able to really generate anything going. And even though he had his college teammate, Devontae Adams, who really put in a really good season, I felt like there was a lot of meat left on the bone out there, and that they could have done even more than what they were able to do. So they just want to move in another direction. They want to get a guy who's not good but great, right? They're expecting to take the quarterback position and not just let it be, a solid position, but actually a weapon that they can use. So I'm assuming that they're going to go in the direction of a lot of teams where they get a guy that is capable of making plays with also his not only his arm but his feet as well, his legs. Similar to what we saw in the Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, just guys that are able to create. When things break down, they can create some plays on their own. I just feel like that's the direction they're going to go. But ultimately what they saw in Derek was just not enough to justify the money that they were going to eventually pay him.
It's always fun this time of the year, again, talking to Q Myers here about the Las Vegas Raiders. 7th-round draft pick, if I'm not mistaken, for the Raiders coming up, and CBS put out a mock draft. It's always fun to look at the mock drafts, but they've got it pegged, of course, quarterback. They're looking at Will Levis is what we saw. Had the physical traits of most NFL teams looking for when scouting for a franchise quarterback. Didn't have quite the college production to back up that high selection. But what do you think about a guy like Will Levis coming in?
I saw that, and I wasn't real excited about that. I look at this quarterback class that's coming in this upcoming draft, and I really see just a couple guys in the first round that I would feel comfortable saying that's going to be a starter immediately, and that's Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. When it comes to Will Levis and Anthony Richardson, I think that they're the most athletic guys. I think that they have the biggest ceiling, the most upside, but they also could crash and burn as far as I'm concerned, right? I mean, it's just looking at what Will Levis did at Kentucky, and I know that some things have changed for him, and I know that he didn't really have all the weapons, and that could be a reason why he didn't have the most successful season. But I also look at a lot of the decision making, and especially in games like against Vanderbilt, where he just didn't look good, didn't look confident. I'm thinking, is that really the franchise quarterback that you want to have? Because this is such a huge decision. I mean, again, you just sat down and you just moved on from a guy who had solidified it and just kind of made that position where you didn't have a question about it for the last 9 years. You decided to move on from him. So I've been telling everyone that they can't have a plan. They've got to have the plan, right? They've got to know exactly what they're doing moving forward. The next guy's got to be the best guy. He's got to be a great guy. They can't just all of a sudden go back into a quarterback carousel that they had for the 15 years before Derek Carr got there. So that's why this is so intriguing to me. I feel like they just can't get it wrong. And if you're drafting a guy in the top 10, you've got to get it right. how many years have we seen in the draft where guys get drafted in the top 10 and they end up being busts? The Raiders can't afford to have that. They cannot afford to end up with a bust at the quarterback position. So I see Will Levis, and I understand the intrigue. I understand the big, strong arm, big, strong guy, all that. But, man, if he can't be that guy, then all of a sudden, what are you doing? So I look at, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud in the first round, and then maybe take a shot at maybe a Hendon Hooker later, maybe even a DTR out of UCLA, maybe a little bit later, a developmental guy that, you feel comfortable with, okay, he's going to sit behind this guy and continue to learn, and we're going to see if he could develop into a quarterback. But I'm just not 100% confident. If I'm the Raiders and I'm the front office, which I'm not, and a good thing I'm not, I would pass on Levis or Anthony Richardson just because there's so much question marks about who these guys are really going to be.
We are currently in the franchise tag window. Do you see the Raiders using that on any players before that window closes on March 7th?
Yeah, I think that they're going to move. They're going to use it on Josh Jacobs unless they're able to get a long-term deal done with him. But I really believe, especially since he's a running back, and you know how running backs are undervalued in the league. I know the Raiders went and drafted a couple last year in the draft, but I just think that what Josh Jacobs brings to the table, what you saw from him in 2022, you can't just let that guy walk out your door. So I think that they're going to try to get a long-term deal done with him, maybe with his front-loaded with some guaranteed money because, again, these contracts are kind of funny money. They might be a 4-year deal with only 2 years that really matter. So I think that they're going to try to do something around that range, get him under contract. But if they can't come to an agreement, I think they hit him with the franchise tag. And depending what they do on the quarterback position, he may be okay with playing on that. When we were in Radio Row in Phoenix, Arizona for the Super Bowl, he said that, hey, if the quarterback position, he was really talking about Aaron Rodgers, if Aaron Rodgers were to come to the Raiders and they started to build up that team, he wouldn't have any problem playing on the franchise tag or even taking less money. But if they don't have a solidified quarterback and they don't build up the team, then what are they doing? So, and then he said at that point, it's like, pay me. Give me all the money I can get. So I think that they find every way they can to retain Josh Jacobs, and most likely he'll probably be hitting them with the franchise tag, which gives them to July 15th to try to work out a long-term deal. And if that doesn't happen, then they just hope he plays on the 1-year deal and they go back to the drawing table later, or maybe they let him walk after that. But I do think that he'll get the franchise tag.
Q, speaking of franchise tags, obviously the biggest story in the NFL right now, lately at least, has been around Lamar Jackson and what they should do with him. Yep. I just want to get your take on it. What do you think the Ravens should do? What do you think Lamar should do? And how do you see this playing out ultimately?
That's a great question. I feel like that the Ravens and Lamar Jackson have really kind of fumbled this from the beginning. I felt like that this is something that should have been taken care of already, where they got that long-term deal done. And I know that deal that happened in Cleveland with Deshaun Watson is really what has messed up this whole situation, has really muddied the waters for Lamar. I think that Baltimore is going to franchise him, and I think there's going to be teams that are interested in him. And that's giving up a lot, right? I mean, I think that it's going to cost at least 3 first-round picks to go out and trade for Lamar Jackson. I know teams like Atlanta have an interest in him. There's other teams out there. Hell, the Raiders might have an interest in him for all I know, right? I mean, because we don't know what the Raiders are going to do with the quarterback position. But for the Raiders, I think it's just giving up too much draft capital to go and get a guy like Lamar Jackson. But I think there's teams out there that are willing to do it, and I don't think that he's going to get that guaranteed money, that $230 million fully guaranteed like Deshaun Watson got, but he's going to want something close. So, whatever team decides that they want to make a move for him, they have to really be ready to pony up that kind of money and realize that that's what it's going to take. So somebody's going to pay money close to what he wants, and I don't know if it's going to be Baltimore. I just don't feel like that they are built like that. I feel like that their front office is way more disciplined than that, but they have a whole team built around them. So if they do move on from them, it's basically like pressing the reset button on their offense because their whole offense is built around Lamar Jackson. So it's going to get done somehow, some way. Long story short, I think it's Lamar Jackson gets the franchise tag, and then buckle up, get your popcorn ready, and see who ponies up for Lamar Jackson.
Love it. Q Myers joining us again, Program Director of Las Vegas Sports Radio Network, the host of the Locked On Raiders podcast. You can find him on Twitter at YourBoyQ254. Q, just got a couple of really quick last questions for you. There were some staff changes there on Monday. Going through, just kind of talk about what does this look like for you guys as you've had some changes, and how's that going to impact this season?
Well, I mean, Frank Okam, he was the defensive line coach, and he was the lead of his duties. And I mean, honestly, the defensive line just didn't produce like they were supposed to. Only 21.5 sacks. They've got to do better than that. And the thing about Frank Okam, I know him. It's funny going back to Central Texas. It all kind of goes back to Waco. He was actually a coach at Baylor with Matt Rule. and that's where I first met him, and he did a great job there at Baylor. And then he went to Carolina with Matt Rule, and he got fired. Matt Rule fired him. That was his guy. And then so 1 year with the Raiders, and he gets fired. So maybe it's something with him in the NFL. Maybe he's just not a great NFL coach, and he's a better college coach. I don't know, but I was surprised that it didn't work in two places now for him in the NFL. And so I think that the Raiders will make, a couple changes, and bring in some other guys, and, they have guys on staff. So I think it'll work out fine. They've also added a few offensive mind guys like Scott Turner. He's part of the offensive staff now, and they brought in a couple other guys. So I just think that they're going to continue to try to evolve the offense and see how it works. It's got to be better than it was in 2022 if they want to win more than 6 games. That's the bottom line.
Final question for you, Q. Again, appreciate your time today. Know that you're busy there. I want to tie this into kind of our listeners around the Minnesota Vikings fan base. It's a team. They haven't matched up, the Vikings and the Raiders, since September 22nd of 2019. In fact, never have played, of course, as a Las Vegas Raiders now. And I believe if I look next year, that's going to be a home contest where the Vikings will be there battling the Raiders. What are you looking forward to in that matchup, and how special will that be for the Vikings to get down there and play you guys?
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think that everyone's going to enjoy Allegiant Stadium because it's such an amazing building. I mean, it really is, and I'm so excited that the Super Bowl will be here in 2024 as well. So everybody will have all eyes on Las Vegas. But for Minnesota in particular, I mean, how can you not get excited about Justin Jefferson, right? And I'm just looking at this matchup and thinking, who in the hell is going to slow that guy down, right? I mean, Justin Jefferson is fantastic. He's actually a guy that I continue to pound my head against the wall thinking, wow, the Raiders could have had that guy, but they didn't. they let him get by, split past them and get to Minnesota, and, well, he's just been doing fantastic things. But what a talented dude, man. I'm excited about him. Obviously, just looking at Minnesota and their squad and their team and knowing what they bring to the table and how many wins they had this year, I mean, I think that's a big challenge for the Raiders. So I'm excited about it because it's a team that can score from anywhere on the field, and now that they've changed their defensive coordinator, they'll probably be a lot better on defense. And I'm also looking to see if I'm hoping my guy is still playing for Minnesota next year when they're here. My man from Baylor, now I forget his name. What's my guy's name from Baylor? Defensive lineman, big dude. He was the defensive player of the year for the Big 12 when he was at Baylor. Man, what is
Blake Lynch?
I forgot his name. Yes, thank you. No, is it Blake Lynch? Oh man, I forget. Lynch, I thought. Oh man, I don't know. Anyway, he's from Baylor and he was a defensive lineman. He was the big guy. He was Matt Rule's first recruit that he had, and he said, "I'm gonna get you to the league," and he did get him to the league. I think he was a 4th round pick by Minnesota. But like I said, he was a defensive player of the year in the Big 12 when nobody thought he was going to be that guy, and he was. He was fantastic, phenomenal. And I know it's tough in the NFL, but I've always been a fan of his, and now I can't even remember his name. That's bad on me. My bad.
Is it James Lynch?
Yes.
James Lynch. There you go.
Lynch. Jeez, man.
Got the last name right, Micah.
There you go. I know he's down on the depth chart a little bit, but he's still my guy, and he did a hell of a job at Baylor. So that's my guy. Just don't tell him I forgot his name.
Yeah, all right. Well, Q, appreciate you, man. Been such a privilege to have you here on the Insiders, and definitely a friend of Bison 1660 now. And when that season comes around next year, we'd love to have you back on and talk a little about the matchup with the Raiders and the Vikings. So looking forward to it, Q. Thank you so much for your time, my friend.
No problem. Appreciate you guys for having me on.
All right, there he is again on the Epic Companies hotline. Q Myers, you can find more about him. Very dynamic guy, and covers the Raiders and knows a lot about what's going on throughout the league as well. Look him up on Twitter. Be sure to follow him. It's at YourBoyQ254. We'll step aside. We'll take a break. We'll talk more about that NFL franchise tag when we come back on the Insiders.
Champions play here.
You're vice president material.
You're vice president material.
Bison 1660.
Dakota Refrigeration, now known as DRI, has been serving Minnesota, the Dakotas, and Montana for over 4 decades. Locally owned and operated since 1974, DRI is a full-service source for your refrigeration, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and electrical service needs. From the entryway to the kitchen, from hot to cold, from dreary to bright, DRI has you covered. DRI, formerly Dakota Refrigeration, with locations in Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot, online at dacref.com.
Hi, I'm Grant Nelson, NDSU Bison basketball player. Whether it's playing basketball or driving in my car, I want to do everything to the best of my ability, on the court and off the court. So when I'm in the car, I up my game with the Drive for Less program from Nodak Insurance. I could save up to 30% on my premium just for driving safely. To me, that's a slam dunk. Download the Nodak Insurance app today.
Hey, Bison Nation, Andy Reckoff here, and I just wanted to take a moment to say we absolutely love our Thoroldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Love being there every day to bring you the very latest with NDSU athletics, but we're not the only ones that like to be in the studio.
Michael Tutsi with us here live in studio.
Scott Anderson joining us, Director of Multimedia, NDSU.
The athletic director's inside the studio. Matt Larson's joining us. I told you we weren't the only ones. Fuel your future and join the growing team at Thoroldson Ethanol today by going online to theroldsonethanol.com.
So I can buy the Chevy truck for $4,000 less than invoice?
Yes, you can at Gateway Chevrolet in Fargo. Up to $2,000 customer cash or 2.9% financing for 60 months. Plus up to $2,000 loyalty cash on select new Chevy trucks. Shop the savings on all new Chevrolets today at Gateway Chevrolet. Save thousands with 2.9% financing for 60 months on select models. Only at Gateway Chevrolet in Fargo. Find new roads. Details gatewayfargo.com.
When it's time to make your next move, turn to Todd Kettermas with Beyond Realty to put the full court press on your home search. Whether you're looking for a quiet home in the suburbs or something downtown, let Todd Kettermas run the point for you in the search for your dream home. Call Todd Kettermas with Beyond Realty today or visit him at 4832 Amber Valley Parkway in Fargo. Todd is a proud partner and the preferred realtor of NDSU Athletics. Todd Kettermas with Beyond Realty, moving the herd one home at a time.
Hi, Chad here from Minnesota Warehouse Furniture and Mattress, located in the heart of Lakes Country. We're the land of over 10,000 sleeps. We have helped our customers and their families rest easy for over 40 years, which is why year after year we've been voted the Lakes Country's best place to buy a mattress. At Minnesota Warehouse Furniture and Mattress, you get the best value on name brand mattresses and the best service. We have a large assortment of mattresses including memory foam and hybrids. It's worth the drive to Minnesota Warehouse Furniture and Mattress, located in Earhart, Minnesota. No frills, just big savings so you can rest easy.
This is Bison quarterback Cole Payton.
Payton, snap, wants to run, found a gap, touchdown! Oh, mama wanna play!
And you're listening to The Insiders on Bison 1660.
Back at it here on Hump Day on The Insiders, Bison 1660. Thanks for joining us. Kyle Emanuel, Micah Bendy, Rob Hipp here. I was letting that beat kind of go on because I thought maybe Kyle Emanuel was going to throw down some lyrics for us, but it didn't happen.
Nah, man, I'm not much of a freestyle rapper by any means, any stretch of the imagination.
But we know you are. We know you like to do it, and you're very good at it, Rob.
Yeah, but I keep that on the DL. That was only for our friends at Big 98 and our good buddy Jesse that I did that for. Doesn't happen on the Insiders too much. What's your favorite music, by the way, Kyle? I know this is like one of those corny questions. They're like you don't really like ask players.
First date question.
Yeah, it's like a first day question, first date question.
Yeah, date.
What did I say? First aid question.
First day.
First aid. First day question. But what is your favorite music? I want to learn a little bit more about your taste in music.
Yeah, I like a lot of music. I know a lot of people say that. I truly do. If I had to pick one, that would be country. It would. I was listening to some throwback country. When I say throwback, like early mid 2000s, actually in the truck on the way here. So
little Shania Twain.
Yeah, she
came
actually
up. Was pretty good.
She came up on the playlist. I just put it on a playlist and let it roll. But yeah, I mean, I'll dabble in a lot of different music, but for sure it's country.
What about Willie? You still jamming to little Willie Nelson?
No, not really. I'm not that far back.
It was crazy. Years ago, my mom actually got called by the FBI. There was a situation. Willie had lost a son in a bad deal, one of those type of deals, and a tragic story. And somehow, like, my mom's name got into the equation because it was through a cousin of ours. And I don't know how this happened, but the story was they reached out to my mom asking her about this. And, of course, that was years and years and years ago. And Mom was like, I don't have anything to do with this. It was like one of those really distant cousins that was involved with Willie Nelson's son in an altercation. Just kind of weird how things work out. But Willie's a big deal down in Texas, and he's going on 90, still out there jamming out. I'm more of like a Merle Haggard type country.
Sure, yeah.
And then you got to think about Hank Williams Jr.
Yep.
Family tradition. Would you ever jam to that? Would you ever do that on a karaoke, Kyle?
Hank Williams Jr.?
Yeah.
No, see, like I'm kind of a newer, like I didn't really listen to country until I got to college.
But family tradition, like, Hank, why do you drink? Why do you roll
sure,
smoke?
Yeah, I know those songs, but like that's not like what I think of when I think of like my favorite country
George Strait?
music. I like some George Strait, sure.
Another story. George Strait's daddy picked us up in South Texas when I was a kid because our car broke down. He had a ranch, in South Texas, south of San Antonio. He passed away years ago, but my uncle actually taught school in the same Pearsall, Texas. He has a song growing up on the Concan River, the Frio River in Concan, Texas. That's the Frio River. But, yeah, my uncle was teaching at Pearsall ISD, and George Strait's dad was teaching at that school. And George Strait was in school as my uncle was teaching there back in the day, and look at him now, what he's done. So, anyways, we'll get off the country kick. We'll bring in some country though sometime for you, Kyle.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Want to dive into a little bit about this NFL franchise tags, franchise tag, not franchise tags.
Yeah, no
franchise tag, because this opened up the window opened up yesterday, and of course our listeners very educated, especially Bison football listeners. They know how things work, but we wanted to open this up and talk a little bit about the NFL franchise tag because it is a big deal right now across the league. Every season, coaches and commentators, they declare certain stars as franchise players. We've heard that before, referring to key leaders who have demonstrated a vocal commitment to their team. Sometimes there's more to a story. For 3 decades, NFL owners, they've reserved the right to claim one player as their own for a year. This is from NBC Sports. Some of this I'm reading paraphrase. Hefty contract through what is known as the franchise tag. It evolved. There are several different iterations of it, but it's typically reserved for some special occasions with typically less than one half of the league's teams employing the trick. You go back last year, I think only, 8 teams took advantage of it, and only 4 of them ended up being those players. But there's a lot of teams this year that could use that franchise tag, and that's kind of what I wanted to lead into.
Yeah, well, obviously, we just asked Q Myers about, Lamar Jackson. He's the number one story right now. Is what it seems like they're so far off on this deal, and so the Ravens don't want to let him walk for nothing. And so, this is where the franchise tag comes in. Now, the interesting part about franchise tags, and I kind of actually learned a lot of this today. I knew about them, but I really kind of dove in a little bit and tried to learn a little bit more. There's non-exclusive and there's exclusive. Now, I'm of the opinion exclusive, really, you're only going to need for maybe a quarterback and a top wide receiver, because if you use a non-exclusive franchise tag, another team can come in and they can offer a better deal that you have the option to match. But if they end up taking the other team, so the team they're not currently on, that team has to give up 2 first-round picks. So you think of a Josh Jacobs. Okay, so if the Raiders give him a non-exclusive franchise tag at $10 million, is there another team that's going to come in and say, yeah, we'll pay him more, and we're going to give up 2 first-round picks? Probably not. Now, someone like Lamar Jackson, non-exclusive franchise tag is about $32 million. For a quarterback, that's, it's up there, but it's not crazy money. $32 million and 2 first-round picks. Someone out there will probably do that. Lamar Jackson's worth more than 2 first-round picks. We heard Q said the exact same thing, and I've heard it throughout the national media. So that's where the Ravens are kind of in this, probably want to franchise tag him, but they're probably going to have to use the exclusive franchise tag, which from the things I was reading is going to be closer to $45 million, but that would guarantee that he's going to stay a Raven. Now, all he can do at that point is possibly sit out or whatever, but at that point, no one can come in and renegotiate. He is going to be a Raven in 2023.
I don't think we're going to see it applied that much this year as far as the franchise tag, just because of the salary cap with so many teams.
Sure.
I think as I was reading, 15 teams currently are over the salary cap. You go back to last year, as I mentioned earlier, 8 players were tagged with the franchise tag window. Only 4 of them played under it. But there are teams who need it. And, Mike, I know that you've been digging in, looking through this as well.
Well, yeah, we already mentioned Lamar Jackson, the top guy who we're surrounding the franchise tag story around him. Are the Ravens going to have to do it? Are they going to get a long-term deal done? But there are other players that will possibly be tagged by other teams. Some that come to mind, Josh Jacobs, obviously. We heard from Q just a little bit in the previous segment. And then on the Giants, well, they have 2 options that are in the storylines right now. Will they franchise tag Daniel Jones? Will they give him a long-term deal? Or will they franchise tag Saquon Barkley at running back position, because they have both these guys up for free agency if they don't get one of them?
Yeah, I agree. I think when it comes to franchise tags, the Giants is the most interesting story to me, even probably beyond Lamar Jackson. Obviously, the whole Lamar Jackson situation is noteworthy for a number of reasons. But when you just look at a team and what are you going to do, you could make a good argument for either of those guys, in which when you're in a franchise tag, I was just talking about non-exclusive. I think you could give Daniel Jones the $32 million under the non-exclusive tag. I don't see any teams coming in and being like, yeah, we're going to pay Daniel Jones more than $32 million and we're going to give up 2 first-round picks for him. I just don't see a team doing that. And so you can get him for that for the $32 million, you can bring him back one more year under Dayball. He had a good coach last year. It was completely different, right? He was a completely different player. All right, was that an anomaly? Was that an outlier, or is he our quarterback for the future? So now you can get another year. But you can also make the same argument for Saquon Barkley. Like if you don't want to extend him now currently, do you want to put him under the franchise tag? I know a lot of people are saying they would franchise tag Barkley over Daniel Jones. I don't know if I agree with that, but that's why I think the Giants situation is so interesting.
The estimated price right now for a running back was just over $10 million, maybe around $11 million, and they get that 1 year with them. And not a lot of teams are going to be trading away 2 first-round picks for a running back.
No.
Not in today's NFL. And then another team another name on a team right now, Daron Payne, defensive tackle for the Washington Commanders. He is an excellent player on the defensive line for them, and a player that could be franchise tag for them. And the number for defensive lineman would be currently or defensive tackle where he plays would be just shy under $19 million.
And it's not just those skill positions, just like you mentioned, that can have this. I'm looking through a list here. The Cardinals, Zach Allen, an interior defensive lineman. We already have talked about Lamar Jackson there with the Ravens, but then Caleb McGarry, the offensive tackle for the Falcons, could be tagged. Buffalo Bills have Jermaine Edmonds, an inside linebacker that is there as well. Jordan Poyer, a safety. So there's 2 options there with Buffalo. Chicago has David Montgomery as their running back. The Bengals, Jesse Bates, a safety, could be that guy.
One of the best in the league.
And then
Top
one
5.
that I'm excited about, and you and I talked about
Cowboys.
this yesterday, is Tony Pollard. And it would be a great opportunity. I'm all for saying bye-bye to Zeke and bringing on Tony Pollard, who has proven, who has been consistent, and who has played dominant when it's mattered the most. I think he should be the franchise guy for the Cowboys.
That's another team. We talked about the Giants. It's another team that's very interesting to me because, okay, if you franchise tag him, now you're paying one running back $10 million. You're paying Zeke whatever he's making, a lot of money at the running back position. I think I'm with you. I don't think Zeke is a difference maker. I don't think he should be getting paid $12, $14 million, whatever he's making at that running back position. I think most people, if you just looked at it, you knew nothing about football, you would say Tony Pollard was the better back last year before he got injured. But we know Jerry Jones loves Zeke. He said that multiple times. I don't know if he's willing to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Are they going to get rid of him? Or are they going to restructure his contract? If they do franchise tag Tony Pollard, I feel like they got to do something with Ezekiel Elliott. Otherwise, I'm going to assume, and I don't know the exact numbers, but I would assume they'd be way over the cap. They got to do something with Ezekiel Elliott if they franchise tag Tony Pollard, because I don't think that doesn't seem like a guy you want to get rid of.
The other option there for the Cowboys could be Dalton Schultz, the tight end, who did receive that tag before. Right. I don't think they're going to do it a second time, but he's in that list for the Broncos. Draymond Jones, the defensive lineman. You go over to Jacksonville, Jawan Taylor, the offensive tackle. Also Evan Ingram, the tight end. Kansas City has some options there with Orlando Brown Jr., the offensive tackle. We know about Josh Jacobs, talked about him with Q a little bit earlier. You mentioned the Giants and Daniel Jones and their quarterback. He could be the guy. Saquon Barkley could be the guy. The Eagles, they have options too with Javon Hargrave, the interior defensive lineman, James Bradbury there, the cornerback, and then C.J. Gardner-Johnson, a safety. So 3 options there for Philadelphia, and you got to think, how much longer are they going to be in that championship window, and what can they do to get back to the Super Bowl again this year? It was a good year for them, but they've got to keep things consistent to get back to that game.
Yeah, and everything's, they do have some of those high price tags. They also have some really high first-round picks, I believe, even though they just played in the Super Bowl. I was just looking through, I believe, are they picking out like 11? Or let me see, 10 via New Orleans. They're picking at number 10, so the Eagles just played in the Super Bowl, and they have that high draft pick. But, yeah, the franchise tag is always interesting, right, because it's the first start. It's the first domino to fall in the whole NFL free agency, and who's going to get tagged, who's going to, and even if they do, like we said, you can still negotiate with that person up until a certain deadline, I think in June or July, to sign them to that longer term deal. So it's always a fun time in the NFL if who's going to get the tag. And again, not every team has to use it, and as you mentioned, only 8 used it last year.
If you're looking for the Vikings to use it, they're probably not going to use it on anybody this year.
Nothing there.
The 2 people that have mentioned, Dalvin Tomlinson would probably be the most worthy, even though he's not that worthy of that franchise tag. He's getting a little bit older, and the Vikings are in a tough situation with their salary cap.
Well, yeah, because we should mention if you tag these people, they're making, was it top 5 average in the NFL?
Average the top 5 at their position. So whatever the top 5 contracts are for quarterbacks, that averages out to about $32.5 million.
Right.
Yeah, no opportunity really for the Vikings if they're out on that salary cap. To round out the list, by the way, San Francisco has Mike McGlinchey, the offensive tackle. Seattle could go Geno Smith at the quarterback. The Bucks, Jamel Dean at cornerback. And then the Commanders, Darren Payne there, the interior defensive linemen. So that's kind of a look at how things are looking. We'll continue to talk about that. A lot going on throughout the offseason, and we'll keep you updated right here on Bison 1660 and the Insiders. We'll step aside. We'll wrap it up. When we come back, we'll have Kyle's thoughts on roster load management when we wrap it up on the other side.
Always having a good time, but never letting it get out of hand.
I approach you from the front and kind of like, wow, this dude's pretty serious. Then I walk away and you're like, he likes to party with 2 R's.
You've got the Insiders on Bison 1660.
Hi, it's Sandy from Raybon Sew and Quilt Shop. You know, Jennifer and I love stitching all kinds of bags. Handbags, tote bags, organizers. If it's a bag, we like to make it. Join us for a weekend of working on bags at your own pace. For $159, you can join us and make your own bag. Registration includes a 6-foot table, lunch, trunk show, instructor assistance, games, and prizes, all at the Country Inn and Suites. For more information or to register, stop into the shop or visit us at ray-bond.com.
Hey, business owners, you have your banker, you have your insurance guy, but do you have your door guy? Now you do. DavTech Window Services also specializes in commercial door and window repair and replacement. DavTech is proud to be known for their excellent commercial services as on the NDSU campus. Choose the door and window experts that will deliver top-rated products as well as the experienced technicians that do it right the first time. A decade of service with a century of experience. Online at DavTechWindowServices.com. That's DavTechWindowServices.com.
Let's get ready to place your bets. Stop in to the region's favorite sportsbook. Dakota Nation Sportsbook offers something for every type of bettor. Follow your favorite teams on the wall-to-wall big screens inside of our action-packed fan-fueled venue. Food, drinks, and real-time odds. Bet on a winning combination of fun and action when you visit this Vegas-style sportsbook located inside of Dakota Magic Casino. We even offer stay-and-play packages. DakotaNationSportsbook.com. Must be on site to place bets.
At Hanson Runsvold Funeral Home, one of the greatest honors I have is to be invited into the life of a family who has called on us during a time of need. It is such a blessing to be a part of a community that genuinely values a life well lived and the importance of honoring that life. Having been born and raised in Fargo, and now raising my son here, I have a deeper sense of what it means to be an active member of our community. The bonds we shared, the stories we live, make us who we are. Hanson Runsvold, helping families look to the future with hope.
Put that tax return to good use this year by paying cash for your next vehicle at Corwin Public Wholesale. Shop over 300 used vehicles at wholesale prices with vehicles starting at just $900. You might even have some cash left over. Cars, trucks, crossovers, and SUVs, they have it all at wholesale prices. Get more for your tax return this year at Corwin Public Wholesale. Corwin Public Wholesale, where your tax dollar goes further this tax season. Located right on the I-29 Frontage Road, Fargo.
Only Taco John's Valuist menu has the cheese-loving audacity to put nachos inside a burrito. Try our new Nacho Crunch burritos with seasoned beef for just $2 or grilled chicken for $3. The Valuist menu, only at Taco John's. At Taco John's, we could compare our wild-caught Alaska flounder fish tacos to other drive-thru fish options. But we have better fish to fry and serve with fresh pico and chipotle lime sauce. Alaska flounder fish tacos are 2 for $6.50 for a limited time at Taco John's.
This is Jory Collins, head women's basketball coach at NDSU.
We're trying to get this program to a point where we can compete for Summit League championships and hopefully play in the in-state tournament. I mean, that's the entire goal.
You are listening to the Insiders on Bison 1660.
Welcome back at it here on the Insiders as we wrap it up on a Wednesday. Been a fun one today. Thanks to everybody for joining us. A lot of texts, a lot of calls coming in, and we will catch up with you tomorrow. But we still got a little bit to talk about before we do wrap it up. Rob Hipp, Kyle Emanuel, Micah Bendy here in the Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Also want to welcome you that are watching on Facebook today, as always, on the Horse Cam. Appreciate you joining us behind the scenes. You can follow the Bison 1660 Facebook page and always see what's going on behind the scenes here on the Insiders. Well, some of the things that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks have just been about this new narrative, and now it's really starting to be a storyline across major media. We're seeing it on TV. We're hearing about it on other radio shows. We've been talking about it for a while. Is this thing about the NBA's roster load management? And the comments that I've heard is like, the NBA's soft. You know, you're 82 games a year, and you want to rest your players. And I get it sometimes. Like, as a Spurs fan, I mentioned this yesterday with guys like Tim Duncan down the stretch and saving them for the playoffs.
Spurs started it, didn't they?
Probably did. It was probably 2012. Probably Greg Popovich with the big three, with Ginobili, Duncan, and Manu. But there's been some other takes to it, and now Micah Parsons from the Dallas Cowboys wanted to chime in on this. And this was all, of course, after a Minnesota Timberwolves guard, Anthony Edwards. He sparked that conversation about it when he made the criticism during All-Star Weekend, which we here on the show liked. We said, okay, this is great. It's a young player. He's talking out against it. Excessive player rest has been an underlying issue for the NBA for a while now. The league has tried divisive ways to incentivize players to not take so much time off. Well, everyone has different situations and different contexts. Stars like Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, they only played in half of their games over the last 4 years if you think about the times that they've taken off. Micah Parsons chimed in. He's getting a little bit of backlash here on social media because he's trying to compare the NFL to the NBA in this aspect. Said, I don't miss games simply because you never know when your last game will be. Life is so unpredictable. If I can breathe, you'll see number 11 with the star on his helmet every Sunday. You only get one shot at this opportunity, and someone is always coming to replace you. But again, it's a little bit different. I understand, like the NBA, you're playing a lot of games. I still think you're getting paid a lot. You need to find a way to play. But Kyle, you know firsthand, the NFL and the NBA, two different sports and a whole different ball game because, let's be honest, like, yeah, every game, coach speak says every game is important. But the reality, in my opinion, is in the NFL, every game is very important. You can't have one game in the NFL. You got 82 games across the NBA. You lose a few of them, you've still got a great chance at winning it all. In the NFL, you lose a few, and all of a sudden you're out of your division.
Yeah, I don't think you can compare the two, and I can appreciate Micah Parsons chiming in because there's some similarities, and you can kind of relate it to yourself. And yeah, if he can go, he's going to go, and I get that. But like you said, there's 82 games, and I didn't play in the NBA, so I can't really speak to what that grind is like. And when I look at this situation, like I've been thinking about this since it first became a thing, way back when the Spurs were doing it, and then LeBron was doing it, and it's hard for me to pick a side of the aisle, and so it's just kind of a boring answer, but I want players to want to play. I loved what Anthony Edwards said. I loved it. Just like you guys, you said you talked about it. Like, I love what he said because I want players to think that way. When it comes to the rules side of it, though, like, I don't know if I like the NBA being like, no, you can't sit these players because now, to me, you're taking away a coach, a GM, whoever's making these decisions. You're taking away decisions from them that they feel like is best for their team. Ultimately, they're the ones being judged on whether they win, whether they make the playoffs. So if they want to make these decisions, I want them to be able to make the decisions. But on the other side, I want those star players to play. I understand the argument from fans saying, we can only afford to come to 1 or 2 games. We want to see the stars play, and sometimes they aren't out there. So I get it from both sides. I just don't know. I don't know if I like the NBA being like, no, you can't sit these players when at times that might be the best decision for them.
Micah Parsons getting ripped here as we close out, and on Twitter, one guy said he set out his entire last year at Penn State, just an FYI. So man, he's throwing it at him. Jay Wees on Twitter said, "What NFL players are taking games off for the rest of the season? LOL." Also, Chris Topher here said, Micah loves wedging himself into situations that don't apply. There isn't a load management issue in the NFL. Again, I don't think you can compare it, but I'm with you. I want to see players that can play. Got a good one lined up tomorrow, as we will have Ross Uglum of Bison Report will be here with us, Nash Jensen on his career at NDSU and now on the USFL roster, and much more. We'll step aside. We'll see you tomorrow. Back at it here on the Insiders. Horns up, and go Bison. Rob Hipp, voice of the Bison here. It's almost tournament time, and the Bison men's basketball team will host their final 2 Summit League games this week. On Thursday, February 23rd, the Bison will host St. Thomas at 7 p.m. at the Shill Center, and on Saturday, February 25th, the Western Illinois Leathernecks and the Bison tip